Blurry. How do I get not blurry? Here's my back scratcher. This usually makes it so it doesn't get blurry. Good. Alright, that helps a little bit. So if you're on DLive, just wait. I have to make sure that DLive is running, and I just restream it through YouTube and Periscope. And here we go. Start. And we are live. Good. Welcome back. So this is just a open topic night. That means you could come on in, talk about any topic you want. If you missed the previous one where I just showed some many planes going by overhead on my town 2 days ago. I just want to know why. What's with those planes? Like, sorry, I just do this so it focuses on me. So people don't know, you can come on in, talk about anything you want. Pretty much, I guess. I mean, it may stop the YouTube live streaming. They might give me another copyright strike for talking about whatever, but whatever. I think I got a couple. Anyways, Periscope, there's always that. There's DLive, and also Vimm.tv. I haven't seen many updates of Vimm. I wonder what they're up to. It's still in alpha mode, 1.26. I can't seem to get DTube to work to live stream. I can't even get my key from there, so I gotta figure that out. Someone mentioned try out some different browsers, and hopefully that works. So I will have to try that. I haven't worked on my browser. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about, and I won't go into too heavily either, and it's funny because I told my wife first thing out the bat. And one of the things, if you guys don't know who Mark Sargent is, I'm trying to get an interview with Mark Sargent. He's did a documentary on flat Earth. He says, don't start off with saying you're a flat earther. People will be like, what? So I told my wife, I said, I'm probably more I support the flat Earth theory more than the globe Earth theory. And she's like, oh my God. She thinks I'm crazy. And then I followed up with some logic, and she's like, when you say it that way, it doesn't seem that bad. Of course, all the connotations and conditioning of people watching mainstream corporate news media, of public education, a whole bunch of stuff. First thing off the bat, you're like, oh, great. Now this. First, Ebon questions, did we land on the moon? Now he's questioning whether the Earth is not a globe. Like, I don't know whether it's flat or if it's a globe. Doesn't really matter, does it? We're still kind of doing our thing. But if you're starting to go into the rabbit holes, conspiracy theories, etc., the esoteric, ancient texts, even religious texts currently, I mean, it seems to all tie into each other. It's a little weird. I mean, I don't trust what the mainstream corporate media says or talks about. Not for a couple years, not for a couple decades. That government don't hold the public interest at heart. Otherwise, we'd be in a better position in this world. We're not. Even the United States, where many times is the greatest nation in the world, probably not anymore. I mean, that used to be the case. People are like, well, no. Yeah. Well, otherwise, if it's the greatest nation, why make America great again, right? Obviously, people don't think it's great. Unless some people think it's great already, that we shouldn't change a thing. I don't think a lot of anyone really feels that way, huh? So, flat Earth theory. Go ahead and watch Mark Sargent's stuff. I think there's a couple of other people. What's that guy's name? He's kind of German guy. Maybe I'll just go ahead and show my browser. Let's see. This is chat. I think his name is Walter Veith. Let me double check. So I'm wondering if I should have done some some things on what is that? The connect the thoughts. But again, I don't think a lot of people will. Walter Veith, yes, he's a Seventh-day Adventist. Is that even the right word? But anyways, it's pretty interesting to look into. Another person I was looking into was Dr. Pierre Rabataille. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I probably should. It's another person interestingly to talk about. He's talks about Kirchhoff's law, and that the sun isn't really gas. It's probably a liquid. So a lot of the assumptions that are made in physics is built off of Kirchhoff's law, and if Kirchhoff's law doesn't hold up, then a lot of the stuff that's been built off of that doesn't really work. So that's a good one. There's a lot more out there. Just kind of have to keep listening and watching and thinking and a whole bunch of other stuff. I think Walter Veith, going back to him, it's funny. His presentations are good. You should watch it. One of the things that he says cracked me up and I showed my wife because I have trouble finding things because my wife moves them, and he mentions pretty much the same thing about his wife. It's like you can move it just like she'll move it 1 millimeter to the right or something. It's like I can't find it anymore, and she's like, it's just right there. It's like I just put things where I leave it. Another interesting thing that I watched, and I was kind of in disbelief. Chris Hedges did an interview or something, and I like what Chris Hedges says. Some of the things he says I agree with, and then this one thing that he said, and I'm trying to find it. I think it was 2 weeks ago I watched it, and it was about an interview about a week before when I watched it. And he starts touting a couple of things of, it's just kind of like a lot of Trump bashing, kind of things that I don't know. It's just kind of like almost trying to herd people back into. I don't know what it is. It didn't speak to me. It's like, really, Chris Hedges, come on. Maybe it's not him changing, but no, I think it is. Maybe it's me changing. Who knows? It's just really, really disappointing in a way. And maybe I think since nobody's joining in, maybe people are enjoying something that I don't know is out there. Finally got my while I'm searching, I'm just trying to talk. You can notice I'm not coughing too much. It's just the phlegm that makes me cough, and now that I said that, I'm probably gonna cough. Let's go. I've been looking back into Sandy Hook for a little while, and a lot of people are like, what, you don't think Sandy Hook was real? No, I don't think Sandy Hook was real. I agree with Wolfgang Halbig. If you watch Wolfgang Halbig's stuff, he's a straight shooter. He doesn't even talk about the victims or the families. He talks about just protocol. What's the protocol that's supposed to be followed? Did protocol get followed? Pretty simple. Those are just simple questions. People don't like him asking those questions. It's like, why would you not want those questions answered? Because he wants to find the truth and to help people in the future not to have to go through the same thing. Hi Shirley, how's it going? hopefully you could come on in. I haven't heard anyone for a while now. It's been such a long time. So Sandy Hook, all I can say is that the official story of how it went down, yeah, it has way too many holes in it. It just doesn't fit in. And you know, I told my wife, you know, my profession of where I made hundreds of thousands of dollars has been about finding bugs in software. There's no different. It's just quality assurance. We're paid to find issues, right? That's what they pay us, and to help get those issues fixed. Well, it's weird because there's scientific dogma. I never thought it would happen, but it's happening. There's a lot of scientific beliefs. And the entire premise of science is not to believe. It's to make sure that belief doesn't occur. It's about making sure that you rigorously test and you rigorously question what's found. Repeat those tests until there's enough. And if you still think that something doesn't hold up and you can't find anything wrong with it, well, that thing still holds, but it doesn't hold up all the time. As time passes, as technology progresses, as people get smarter, I guess, people think differently, and then they realize, they run a test and they go, hey, this thing doesn't hold up anymore. It's like people are like going, are you serious? What are you smoking? Crack? It's like, look, here's my tests. Here's the same tests that was ran before. Or you look at this Kirchhoff's law, it's like, and Planck's theory, and it's like, Planck didn't even run an experiment. He just kind of went off of Kirchhoff's law, saying, supposing Kirchhoff's law is correct. Hey, it's well, he's Max Planck. We're gonna listen to him. Don't just listen to scientists who don't have any experiments to back up their results. And so a lot of people are kind of silenced. I've been watching Arthur R. Thompson. I don't know exactly what I was where that fits in, but I'm gonna have to find out. A lot of this is just kind of regurgitating kind of what I went over, and I really need to do a lot better job of writing these things down. The thing is, now that I have my server up, I just need to get that stupid activation thing going. There's problems with that. Once that's done, I'm gonna put some websites up, and I'm gonna put up a lot of the stuff there. And I think I'm going to, I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna set up a database, that's for sure. But I also want people to be able to download a lot of the material and in a non-database format where they don't need to set up a database. They just have the HTML files that have all the data. So they could, I mean, so you could download and you can look through it offline in case the website goes down. That's just what it is. Let's see. Here we go. 21 minutes. Excuse me. So no one's joining yet. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to show you this. It's Chris Hedges on the Cult of Trump. This was published on November 28th, 2018. Full video is here. Maybe I'll go to the, and this is, when was this? I mean, this was published November 10th, 2018. I don't know exactly when this was made, but a lot of people are, this is John Birch Society. I'm pretty sure if you looked at it, you could figure out the date, but this is just where it was published by Trusty Limbs, which I don't know why. I should probably just subscribe. Maybe I didn't like the video, so I didn't want to subscribe. All right, so I'll probably stop it, kind of go over points that I don't agree with. That's as much as I'm gonna do. Anyways, here it is.
Trump is not a product of the leak of the Podesta emails, or James Comey, or even racism, although he and many who support him are racist, or Russian bots. Demagogues always arise from failed democracies, plagued by rulelessness, by enemy. They tell an enraged population what it wants to hear, and crudely, to the delight of the betrayed, ridicule the elites who sold them out. Removing Trump from office without confronting the enemy that defines the lives of tens of millions of Americans would do nothing to restore democracy. In fact, it would probably consolidate the power of a Christianized fascism, rapidly filling Trump's ideological void. Vice President Mike Pence, because he is a creature of the Christian right, would most likely, as Noam Chomsky has pointed out, be worse than Trump if he gained the presidency. This enemy, as it always does, has empowered our own demagogues. And demagogues must be understood as cult leaders rather than traditional politicians. A disempowered population, infantilized by a world it cannot control, gravitates to cult leaders who appear omnipotent and promise a return to a mythical golden age. The cult leaders vow to crush the forces embodied in demonized groups and individuals which are blamed for their misery. The more outrageous the cult leaders become, the more they flout law and social conventions, the more they gain in popularity. Cult leaders are immune to the norms of established society. This is their appeal. Cult leaders demand a godlike power. Those who follow them grant them this power in the hope that the cult leaders will save them. Trump has transformed the decayed carcass of the Republican Party into a cult. And all cults are personality cults. They are extensions of the cult leader. The cult reflects the leader's prejudices, worldview, personal style, and idiosyncrasies. Trump did not create the yearning for a cult leader. Huge segments of the population, betrayed by the established elites, were conditioned for a cult leader. They were desperately looking for someone to rescue them and solve their problems. They found their cult leader in the New York real estate developer and reality television show star. And only when we recognize Trump as a cult leader, and many of those who support him as cult followers, will we understand where we are headed and how we must resist. It was 40 years ago this month that a messianic preacher named Jim Jones convinced or forced more than 900 of his followers, including roughly 280 children, to die by ingesting a cyanide-laced drink.
Look, most of what he's saying, I can agree with. Now he's kind of attributing Donald Trump to a cult leader like Jim Jones. Yeah, I don't agree with. Yeah, I don't like Trump. I think he's much like Obama and Clinton and Bush and all them. Just a different tact is what he has. Anyways, let's just keep listening.
Trump's refusal to acknowledge and address the impending crisis of ecocide and the massive mismanagement of the economy by the kleptocrats, his bellicosity, his threats against Iran and China, the withdrawal from nuclear arms treaties, along with his demonization of all who oppose him, ensure our cultural, and if left unchecked, physical extinction. Cult leaders are driven.
Now, a lot of that can be attributed to any of the presidents we've had over the last couple of decades. Anybody. It's why, I mean, the finger pointing to Trump, and he doesn't even mention Israel. Anyways, let's keep going.
At their core by the death instinct the instinct to annihilate and destroy rather than nurture and create. Trump shares many of the characteristics of Jones as well as other cult leaders, such as the founders of the Heaven's Gate cult, the Reverend Sun Young Moon, who led the Unification Church, and David Koresh, who led the Branch Davidian cult in Waco, Texas.
There's worse cult leaders, especially those who are presidents. Yet he attributes Trump to those cult leaders. Anyways, you see where I'm getting with this. Anyways, I had disagreement with this. I don't disagree with what Chris Hedges has to say many times. This, I don't know what he's reading off of. He doesn't. I mean, he's smart enough where he doesn't need to read off of some pre-made script. The script that he's reading, though, I wonder if he was told to read it. Anyways, don't you like those symbolism right there?
Cult leaders are narcissists. They demand obsequious fawning and total obedience. They prize loyalty above competence. They wield absolute control. They do not tolerate criticism. They are deeply insecure, a trait they attempt to cover up with bombastic grandiosity. They are amoral and emotionally and physically abusive. They see those around them as objects to be manipulated for their own empowerment, enjoyment, and often sadistic entertainment. All those outside the cult are branded as forces of evil, prompting an epic battle whose natural expression is violence. A cult is a mirror of what is inside the cult leader, Margaret Singer wrote in Cults in Our Midst. He has no restraints on him. He can make his fantasies and desires come alive in the world he creates around him. He can lead people to do his bidding. He can make the surrounding world his world. What most cult leaders achieve is akin to the fantasies of a child at play, creating a world with toys and utensils. In that play world, the child feels omnipotent and creates a realm of his for a few minutes or a few hours. He moves the toy dolls about. They do his bidding. They speak his words back to him. He punishes them any way he wants. He is all-powerful and makes his fantasy come alive. When I see the sand tables and the collections of toys some child therapists have in their offices, I think that a cult leader must look about and place people in his created world much as a child creates on a sand table a world that reflects his or her desires and fantasies. The difference is that the cult leader has actual humans doing his bidding as he makes a world around him that springs from inside his own head. George Orwell understood that cult leaders manipulate followers primarily through language, not force. This linguistic manipulation is a gradual process. It is rooted in continual mental chaos and verbal confusion. Lies, conspiracy theories, outlandish ideas, and contradictory statements that defy reality and fact.
Conspiracy theories. I don't know why he mentions that. Just another thing.
Soon paralyze the opposition. The opposition, with every attempt to counter this absurdism with the rational, such as the decision by Barack Obama to make his birth certificate public, or by Senator Elizabeth Warren to release the results of her DNA test to prove she has Native American ancestry.
So it's kind of in the vein of making it seem like Elizabeth Warren and Obama were pretty legit. I don't see how one 1/32 of ancestry is toting that she's Native American. At any rate, another disagreement with Chris Hedges here.
Plays to the cult leader. The cult leader does not take his or her statement seriously. and often denies ever making them, even when they are documented. Lies and truth do not matter. The language of the cult leader is designed exclusively to appeal to the emotional needs of those in the cult. Hitler kept his enemies in a state of constant confusion and diplomatic upheaval. Joost Merlo wrote in The Rape of the Mind, "They never knew what this unpredictable madman was going to do next. Hitler was never logical because he knew that that was what he was expected to be."
And again, a little bit of a throw in there to Hitler. I don't know. I mean, it's just the mainstream narrative. We're nowhere near Donald Trump becoming Hitler. I don't like defending Trump any more than I like defending any other asshole out there. But Hitler, look, every president, the other side, and this is just another sideism. The other side is going, hey, this guy's the Antichrist, or this president is Hitler. Every president. They're all bad. But the other side always depicts the other as the worst someone can be. Anyways.
Logic can be met with logic, while illogic cannot. It confuses those who think straight. The big lie and monotonously repeated nonsense have more emotional appeal in a Cold War than logic and reason. While the enemy is still searching for a reasonable counter-argument to the first lie, the totalitarian can assault him with another. Cult leaders engage in the permanent lie. And the permanent lie is different from the falsehoods and half-truths uttered by politicians such as Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, or Barack Obama. The common political lie these politicians employed was not designed to cancel out reality. It was a form of manipulation. Clinton, when he signed into law the North American Free Trade Agreement, promised, and I'm quoting, "NAFTA means jobs, American jobs, and good-paying American jobs." George W. Bush justified the invasion of Iraq because Saddam Hussein supposedly possessed weapons of mass destruction. But Clinton did not continue to pretend that NAFTA was beneficial to the working class when reality proved otherwise.
Again, different tact. Those are horrible things that they implement. They've implemented a lot of horrible legislation and executive orders. But now he's saying Trump is doing it not the usual way, and so he's much worse. Bad is bad, folks.
Bush did not pretend that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction once none were found. The permanent lie, however, is not circumscribed by reality. It is perpetuated even in the face of overwhelming evidence that discredits it. It is irrational. Those who speak in the language of truth and fact are attacked as liars, traitors, and purveyors of fake news. They are banished from the public sphere once totalitarian elites accrue sufficient power.
So I'm part of this crew. Not that I am, actually. It's just the perception that I am. I am not far right. Hell, I'm not even far left. I seek the truth. I do my own research. I do my own investigations. I look at what people would consider anomalies, and I look into them because that's what I do. I look into bugs. I look into flaws. I look into fixing things. But then, you know, I'm shut down. But who am I shut down? It's not the right. I'm shut down by the left, which is confusing because I thought the liberals were part of the left. I thought liberals fought for freedom of speech, especially back in the day. was in 60s and 70s, and what now? It's the opposite. Like, I don't choose sides in sidism, you know, contrast. It's just the one thing I seek is truth, freedom, justice. You can't have any one of those without the other. And if I have to choose a side, it's going to be the ones who are choosing to fight for those three. You know, maybe it's just some cycle and one side is fighting for those because the other side is just taking it away. Who knows? But at the end of the day, it's just whatever side, whatever flavor of the month it is during those times. Maybe we have to pick a side. I don't like picking a side. I want to pick a side. But excuse me. Anyways, let me just keep it going.
The iron refusal by those who engage in the permanent lie to acknowledge reality, no matter how transparent reality becomes, creates a collective psychosis. The result of a consistent and total substitution of lies for factual truth is not that the lie will now be accepted as truth, and truth will be defamed as a lie, but that the sense by which we take our bearings in the real world and the category of truth versus falsehood is among the mental means to this end is being destroyed, Hannah Arendt wrote. The permanent lie is the apotheosis of totalitarianism. It no longer matters what is true. It matters only what is correct. And federal courts are being stacked with Federalist Society judges who served the correct ideology of corporatism and the rigid social mores of the Christian right. They hold reality, including science and the rule of law, in contempt. They seek to banish those who live in a reality-based world defined by intellectual and moral autonomy. Consistency is
now, as I go through a lot more research, investigations, just thoughts and questions, science has, of course, as you listened to me before, has a dogma of their own. Science is not science. Scientists are not being scientific. It's a weird world, and this is the reality. Chris Hedges should know. I think I've even talked about it before. I don't know why he says it now. Again, this isn't him speaking from his heart. This is him reading from something written. I don't know if it's written by him or written by someone else. I just find it odd that I disagree with so many things that Chris Hedges says.
Guarded, complexity, nuance, depth, and profundity are replaced with the simpleton's belief in threats and force. This is why the Trump administration disdains diplomacy and is dynamiting the State Department. Totalitarianism, wrote the novelist and social critic Thomas Mann, is at its core the desire for a simple folktale. Once this folktale replaces reality, morality and ethics are abolished. And as Voltaire reminded us, those who can make you believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities. The cult leader grooms followers to speak in the language of hate and violence. The cult leader constantly paints a picture of an existential threat, often invented, that puts the cult followers in danger. Trump is doing this by demonizing the caravan of some 4,000 immigrants, most from Honduras, moving through southern Mexico. Caravans of immigrants are, in fact, nothing new. The beleaguered and impoverished asylum seekers, including many families with children, are 1,000 miles from the Texas border. But Trump, aided by nonstop coverage by Fox News and Christian broadcasting, is
Trump, he also neglects that he's constantly in the news, not just by Fox News, but all the other corporate mainstream media. He fails to mention that. I mean, Fox News is part of that same system. It's just different sides, different take. Sometimes it's the same take, especially when there's a narrative being pushed. Fox will take the same narrative as CNN, MSNBC, ABC, whatever. And immigration, just think, why are there so many immigrants immigrating into the United States? What are they running away from, and how did it get to that point? It's a lot of meddling by the United States itself, CIA, just the military. It's just it's caused by us. It's odd that they seek asylum in the U.S., but I guess it's something that no one really thinks about, and I'm pretty sure Chris Hedges is a thinker. He knows. It's just a little weird.
Using the caravan to terrify his followers, just as he, along with these media outlets, portrayed the protesters who flocked the U.S. Capitol to oppose the nomination of Kavanaugh as unruly mobs. Trump claims the Democrats want to open the border to these quote-unquote criminals and to quote-unquote unknown Middle Easterners who are, he suggests, radical jihadists. Christian broadcasting such as Pat Robertson's 700 Club splice pictures of marching jihadists in black uniforms cradling automatic weapons into video shots of the caravan. The fear-mongering and rhetoric of hate and violence, as I saw when I covered the war in the former Yugoslavia.
Probably don't want to reiterate too much of this, but look, the difference between immigration policies of Trump and Obama, and I don't really like talking into this mainstream crap. Obama let the immigrants in, but he deported many of them. He's deporter in chief. He's deported more people in the history of the United States than any other president, including Trump. Trump just doesn't want to go through that as much, it seems. He just wants to prevent them from doing it, so he doesn't have to deport as many. We'll see about that, though. But no mention of Obama and his deportations.
Eventually leads to widespread acts of violence against those the cult leader defines as the enemy. The explosive devices sent to Trump critics and leaders of the Democratic Party, including Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and Joe Biden, along with George Soros, James Clapper, and CNN. Allegedly by Cesar Sayoc, an ex-stripper.
And of course, many who look into it, and Chris Hedges is an investigator. You should know that these bombs were just not bombs. And really, our security is that bad that people are just gonna like accept it. No one got killed because those bombs were real. And if someone really wanted it, no one mailed through them, and unless the postal service is just horrible at their job, security is horrible at their job. I'll talk about whoever I want, Shirley. He ain't no messiah.
And fanatic Trump supporter was living out of his van. Herald more violence. Trump, tossing gasoline on the flames, used this assault against much of the leadership of the Democratic Party to again attack the press, or as he calls it, the enemy of the people. It should come as no surprise that last Saturday, another enraged American white male, his fury and despair seemingly stoked by the diatribes and conspiracy theories of the far right, entered a pit.
Again, narrative of white male conspiracy theories. Something I wouldn't expect from Chris Hedges, but we're hearing it. I'm disbelieving it, but I'm hearing it. Actually, I am. It's not really about belief or disbelief, really, is it?
Pittsburgh synagogue and massacred 8 men and 3 women as he shouted anti-Semitic abuse. Shot by police and arrested at the scene was Robert Bowers, who believes that Jewish groups are aiding the caravan of immigrants in southern Mexico.
Like, I don't get it with the narrative being pushed. Like, a lot of the right are anti-Jewish, anti-Israel, whatever? Do they not even listen to the mainstream corporate media or listen to Trump? Trump says himself, I am the biggest supporter of Israel. And that's just not me saying it's the prime minister of Israel. And so what, you're going to have some follower of Trump who doesn't understand and realize that, and you're going to put him as a anti-Jew, Nazi, whatever? Does not make sense. Yeah, I understand there are some people who don't understand who Trump's in bed with, really. But I don't think someone who's going to go that far. Well, they're not that. They're probably crazy if they are. But then, you know, I don't think a lot of these terrors that are occurring are actually real. But again, that's just me. I haven't done too much research into it, but pretty much it fits the narrative.
He was armed with a military-style AR-15 assault rifle.
Oh my goodness! See, here we go, where I just military-style AR-15 assault rifle. Where do we hear that a lot? Look, I don't understand why he's pushing the narrative of the mainstream corporate, mainstream government, whatever narrative. He's pushing it. I mean, I don't know how many. I don't like stopping in all these things in videos. You don't see me doing it that much, but I mean, come on. I want to know who wrote this and why he's saying it.
Plus 3 handguns. The proliferation of easily accessible, high-caliber weapons, coupled with the division of the country into the blessed and the damned by Trump and his fellow cultists, threatens to turn the landscape of the United States into one that resembles Mexico, where at least 145 people in politics, including 48 candidates and pre-candidates, along with party leaders and campaign workers, have been assassinated over the last 12 months. Look south if you want a vision of...
I don't think that's Trump assassinating anybody. I don't know why that's mentioned, but...
the future. The cult leader, unlike a traditional politician, makes no effort to reach out to his opponents. The cult leader seeks to widen the divisions. The cult leader brands those outside the cult as irredeemable. The cult leader seeks the omnipotence to crush those who do not kneel in adoration. The cult...
I mean, he could easily be saying this about, say, the Democrats or leftists or whatever. You even think it's slightly different than them? You're going to be shut down. You're going to be like, shut up. Like, you can't talk. You can't say these things. It's like, fuck yeah, I can. It's like, who are you to tell me I can't? I don't care who you are. President, king, prime minister. You told me to shut the fuck up. I'm going to tell you shut the fuck up. I'm not going to shut the fuck up. You don't like what I have to say? You don't like what I'm saying? Just go away. Don't listen. You want to try to shut me up? It's like, do it. Try to shut me up. You're not going to be allowed to. I'm not going to allow it. You're going to have to kill me. That's as far as you're going to have to go. And, you know, if that's the way it goes, well, good luck.
Followers yearning to be protected and empowered seek to give the cult leader unlimited power. Democratic norms and impediment to the leader's omnipotence are ridiculed, attacked, and ultimately abolished. Those in the cult seek to be surrounded by the cult leader's magical aura. Reality is sacrificed for fantasy, and those who challenge the fantasy are not considered human. They are satanic. Behavior...
Talk about satanic. He knows who the Satanists are.
...that ensures the destruction of a public figure's career does not affect a cult leader. It does not matter how many lies uttered by Trump are meticulously documented by the New York Times or the Washington Post.
New York Times and Washington Post. His criticisms of Trump is just a weird way to give credence to these news outlets. I've heard him saying these credibility issues about mainstream corporate media, and it's just weird that he's just saying this stuff. I mean, maybe this is a fake video. Maybe this isn't really Chris Hedges. It's some look-alike and sound-alike, and I don't know. It's just weird.
It does not matter that Trump's personal financial interests, as we see in his relationship with the Saudis, take precedence over the rule of law.
Saudis? Guess who was in bed with the Saudis? The Bushes. Big in bed with the Saudis. No mention of that. Why? I can't even speak. I haven't spoken like this in a while.
Diplomatic protocols and national security. It does not matter that he is credibly charged by numerous women with being a sexual predator, a common characteristic of cult leaders. It does not matter that he paid little or no income taxes and routinely committed financial fraud. It does not matter that he is inept, lazy, and ignorant. The establishment whose credibility has been destroyed because of its complicity in empowering the ruling oligarchy and the corporate state might as well be blowing soap bubbles at Trump. Their vitriol to his followers only justifies the hatred radiating from the cult. The removal of Trump from power would not remove the yearning of tens of millions of people, many conditioned by the Christian right, for a cult leader. Most of the leaders of the Christian right have built cult followings of their own. These Christian fascists embraced magical thinking, attacked their enemies as agents of Satan, and denounced reality-based science and journalism long before Trump. Cults are a product of social decay, of anomie, and our decay and despair are expanding, soon to explode in another financial crisis. The efforts by the Democratic Party and much of the press, including CNN and the New York Times, to discredit Trump as if our problems are embodied in him alone, are futile. The smug self-righteousness of this crusade against Trump only contributes to the national reality television show that has replaced journalism and politics. This crusade attempts to reduce a social, economic, and political crisis to the person of Trump. It is accompanied by a refusal to confront and name the corporate forces responsible for our failed democracy and growing social inequality. This collusion with the forces of corporate oppression neuters the press and Trump's mainstream and democratic critics. Our only hope is to organize for the overthrow of the corporate state that vomited up Trump. Our democratic institutions, including the legislative bodies, the courts, and the media, are hostage to corporate power. They are no longer democratic. We must, like liberation movements of the past, engage in acts of sustained mass civil disobedience and non-cooperation. By turning our ire on the corporate state, we expose and name the true sources of power and abuse. We expose the absurdity of blaming our demise on demonized groups such as undocumented workers, Muslims, African Americans, Latinos, feminists, gays, and others. We give people an alternative to a Democratic Party that refuses to confront the corporate forces of oppression, a party which cannot be rehabilitated. We make possible the restoration of an open society. If we fail to embrace this militancy, which alone has the ability to destroy cult leaders. We will continue the march toward tyranny. Thank you.
Hey, bro. It's very hot in here, man. I gotta open up a window. But I got the cat in here, so I'm yeah, but my AC is wild, man. It's super cool. Yeah, no, not Atlantic City, my AC air conditioning. My air conditioning is very wild because in the winter it gets extremely hot, but in the summertime it gets super cold. So it's like I can't have a happy medium in here. Especially at night. I don't know what it is about night. It gets super hot in here. Yeah.
Sorry. I forgot to unmute myself so people don't know what I was saying. All right. But they could hear you, so that's fine.
Okay, yeah.
How have things been going? Things have been busy for you lately, huh?
Yeah, man, with work.
Yeah.
Haven't been able to do much of activism, man, as I would like to. Still part of Unity for J, even though I haven't been doing much recently. I did do that protest or action, whatever you want to call it, a couple Sundays ago.
Yeah.
But
I think
I
I
helped
noticed
tweet
that.
out the last event, not this one, but the last. I was busy again today with work. Yeah, man, trying to make that pasta, trying to make that those greens to help, so I could help myself, help you guys, help myself, help others.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Charity starts at home, right?
Yeah.
So that's at least what a wise man once told me.
It's have you noticed any change in people throughout the protests that you've been to over a couple of months? Or has it pretty much been the same?
I mean, I've noticed more Americans have positive reactions when I'm out there. I think this last one was partially because, not to sound ageist or anything, but I'm a young guy. Not to glow, but I am good looking.
Yeah,
I'm not
I'm
going.
pretty sure the ladies do not disagree.
And the fact that I was out there in not so desirable weather. I was out there. It was like 38, raining, windy. But I wanted to be out there because of that, because I think that it heightens the importance. If somebody's out there in bad weather, they're still out there for hours and hours and hours holding the sign. It makes you kind of wonder, like, hey, wow, this guy must be really important to this guy. What's going on here?
Or they might think that you're just crazy and that anyone who's out there in the crazy weather, you know,
or maybe both. Maybe both.
Yeah, you might get two different sides of it. Yeah.
Yeah, but anyways, the main goal, really, when it goes down to it, is attention. You want people to at least see the sign.
Yeah.
Right. I just wanted people to at least see me. That's why I was there at Grand Central. But yeah, but you still see the same pattern, though. It's the same, not the pattern, but the same truth in that foreigners are much more positively responsive to this. than Americans are, unfortunately. A lot of people in South America, Europe, especially Europe, Europeans are like on this thing. They know what's up, they know what's really up.
Yeah.
And for some fucking reason, African Americans, black people are like the people that want to get in your face and yell at you, heckle you. There was like this one lady before, when I was first doing it, she kept coming back and saying how bad Assange is. It's like, oh my God, lady, okay, we get it. You don't like him, okay. So you feel that way. It just kept coming back and back, but we were eventually able to turn her through our, our persistence on being in the same spot. This was outside the British consulate down by I think Second Avenue. Yeah, Second Avenue and like 40 something, no, 50 something, so I forget. But around there, Midtown. And then this last one, this black dude came up to me. He just started heckling me. Yo, man, you know that guy's a fucking traitor, right? And I go to him, how can he be a traitor if he's not an American? But no, man, he's a traitor. He's a traitor. He's, revealed state secrets. He stole them. And at that point, I just like, okay. I just felt like that guy was probably not, there's not a high likelihood of me turning him. You know what I mean? So I just let him talk, and I just pay attention to the people passing by. Sometimes silence is the best answer, really.
Could be. But I mean, having someone like that could be good to have on your side. Who knows?
That's true, yeah, man.
He's if he really believes that, then you gotta have him. I think one of the tactics to have him explain how he's the traitor, how he, how much he knows. I mean, what he regurgitates up, and then just kind of point him to a couple of things that he should look into.
Right.
Just look at Chelsea Manning, Edward Snowden. Are they the traitors? And then what his thoughts are with Chelsea Manning. Is Chelsea Manning's free? Should she be tormented still? Is she still a traitor? What are your thoughts about Chelsea Manning? And what did Chelsea Manning show? And he goes, I don't know what she showed, but she shouldn't have done it. And she goes, she showed military killing innocent civilians, and the people in the military that did that were gloating over how they killed them, how good they're laughing. It's like, is that something that you tolerate? Is that something that's treasonous? Is that something that should just keep going on? Just kind of get them to show their morals and see if they support the immorals of others, and whether there's different justice, whether just because you're in the military and shit happens in the military and you report it, that means you're the bad one, not the people who did the bad stuff. I mean, just kind of get them to that point of, I think everyone has a sense of morality out there. It's got to just show them the sense of morality that they themselves should follow, and what they would do in that same situation. And if no one else is out there going to publish all these things because they're afraid of what's going to happen to them, well, then is that bravery, or is that cowardice? Is that traitorism? It's like, would you do it? And they would say no. And it's like, why wouldn't you do it? Are you scared, or do you think it's treasonous to, if someone you knew killed someone and they laughed about it, would you report it? And you'd probably say yes. And they go, if it was the government that did that, would you report it? And you'd be like, yes. It's like, well, then you'd be doing the same thing. I think that's just kind of the way you have to kind of go at it, not attack them, just get to the logical point where they're attacking themselves. They realize if they're in the same boat, what would they do? Would they do the same thing, or they wouldn't? And if they do the same thing, well then, why aren't you blaming yourself for what you might have done in their place? I don't know. That's just the way that I kind of go about thinking of things.
No, I think it's a good way, man. And I didn't attack the guy. I wouldn't attack the guy. You know me.
Yeah, I know that.
But I think what kind of discourages behind that was when he said, like, I hope the CIA kills that motherfucker.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, all right, let me just let him go. But I think I still could have handled it a bit better, like you were saying, man.
There's
But
just a lot of
yeah, man, good.
there's just a lot of conditioning that we have to get people
Yeah.
out of. I mean, just look at all the shows, all the movies that just kind of CIA is always in a good light. I mean, you hardly see many movies where the CIA is in a bad light. You will usually have a CIA person just being bad, but the CIA agency is the good, right? But you don't necessarily see the agency itself as being bad at all. You see most of the time that they're depicted in a good light. And I mean, just a lot of movies are like that. Government's always good. There's always good people in government that are trying to stop the bad people in government. But the governments themselves are, how would we even know government's so not transparent, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think about, like, in comics, you know, you have Shield, which is like their version, Marvel's version of the CIA, and they're, you know, most of the time supposed to be the good guys. Like in Black Panther, the one guy from Shield was the guy that we trusted the most, who had the most straightest moral compass, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then there are other times, excuse me, other times like in like the second Captain America movie where it turns out Shield are a bunch of undercover, what's it called? God damn it, Hydra agents. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
basically modern day Nazis or whatever, totalitarians, whatever you want to call them. But yeah, man, you raised a very true point that, you know, I mean, the government is, for the most part, portrayed in a positive light. Rarely is it ever seen as an enemy of the people, portrayed as an enemy of the people, especially nowadays. I mean, you can speak to this more than I can, brother, because you've been alive for longer than I have.
Much longer. How old are you again? 26?
25,
25? Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I have been alive longer.
I don't mean to make you feel old, man, but you're still young.
Thanks
Anyway,
a lot.
but
yeah, you old fogey, Ebon. Okay, go ahead.
no,
Sorry.
dude, you're young, dude. You're freaking young. 40 years old is young, man. What was I gonna say? But I mean, yeah, I think as time has progressed, it has become a less and less frequent occurrence because of, you know, how much they've come under fire with, you know, like Vietnam and what happened there, you know, Watergate. I think Vietnam and Watergate was a big turning point. I think from there, things really started to go downhill. I think it started to accelerate.
Yeah, well, because they knew all the publicity that they got is what pretty much stopped the war, and they've realized they're not. That's not going to happen again. They're going to do whatever they can to stop that.
Yep.
And the entire idea of secrecy. A lot. What's weird is like the left. When they named the last greatest president, they skip over JFK. They always move on to not Theodore Roosevelt. The other Roosevelt. Why can't I remember his first name?
Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Yeah, Franklin Roosevelt.
Mm-hmm.
They skip over JFK. I mean, he's assassinated for a reason. I think there's a lot of things that he got involved in that wasn't his doing. He pretty much put his trust into the CIA, and he followed that, and he got into Bay of Pigs and all this other stuff that he shouldn't have gone into. But when you listen to all the speeches and stuff like that, what he was gearing towards was to reveal that the transparency of the government, and part of that is to get rid of the secret societies that are within the government. And I think a lot of the things that weren't transparent, and I think that's what probably got Robert Kennedy killed, because he was going to do the same thing, following his brother's footsteps. But they didn't think that. Yeah, I mean, look, they're like the two most powerful people or at least they thought they were, and either the powers of the government couldn't protect them, or they let them get killed, or they planned their killing. I think that's just the way that I see it. Just, I mean, so many things that we think about. I mean, that was the time of like the moon landings, right? We landed on the moon, what, 60 years ago? That's what they say. Yet the technologies and advancement of space travel hasn't increased as much as the technology of media, of communications. We've got CGI, we've got AI that can change things within just videos, where they could just put in anyone's face and voice, and it looks somewhat good, like it's real, but it's not authentic. They could change videos.
That's true. Yeah.
And look, the greatest achievement of mankind as we know it, landing on the moon, NASA just destroyed. They say they destroyed it. It's destroyed. Same thing with the tapes, the original films. Destroyed. That's hundreds of thousands and, you know, hundreds of hours of video destroyed. How does that happen? Who lets that happen? I mean, what kind of agency doesn't make backups and sends it across everywhere? The only reason I could think of is they don't want people to find out it's faked. Look, we've got all this technology now, right? But we can easily find out whether, like, the originals have been tampered with or not. But I mean, it's the same thing with the telemetry data. That's very important information. Because if it doesn't add up, we find the telemetry data, and a couple of people get access to it, and they do the calculations. And it's easy to do the calculations now with the computers that we have. And they go, "Hey, this doesn't add up. How could we land on a moon with this telemetry data? It doesn't make sense." And so, of course, they're going to destroy it. So that's why there's a lot of weird things, and I don't think we went to the moon. It just makes the most sense if you destroy things to hide the evidence. I mean, if you're going to hide something, you're going to destroy it. You're not going to make copies of it and hide it from the public. You're just going to destroy it, because otherwise you're going to eventually get caught, and you're going to be... The people out there in the real world aren't going to kill you. It's the people who wanted to kept it hidden and destroyed are saying, "Hey, why didn't you keep it hidden? That was what you're told to do," and they're the ones who get killed by them. They don't get killed by the people. People are pretty understanding. They go, "Yeah, we realize you're in dire straits. You know, you're going to get killed if you don't listen." So yeah. And
they don't get killed, Ebon. They just get robbed and just have nothing taken from them.
Yeah, they just shoot themselves in the back of the head twice, or
Twice.
It's like, psh, oh wait, let me do it again.
I'll do it again, yeah. What you were saying, man.
Oh, so I've been going into a little bit more information with like the flat Earth theory, and something that I've been thinking about is, all right, so how do we get the measurements of how fast we're going? Okay, now there are different methods that you realize, and a lot of it's just the calculations are based off of parallax. At least that was in the past. So it was based off of a couple different methods. Parallax was another. Then it became radar. Then it was like laser technology. Just the amount of the speed of photons, I think, falling into the Earth's atmosphere and all this other stuff. And that's how we get the speed of how fast everything's going. But how do we know for exactly sure? I mean, that's just the theory. There's no celestial body outside in space that's non-moving. Everything's moving. That's what they say. So our speed would be relative to what else is out there. So if we're saying the speed of the Earth is, say, 166,000, I don't know, miles per hour, it's like, how do we know it's exactly 166,000 miles per hour? There's no part of space that's non-moving. For example, if we were driving your whole life 60 miles per hour, people will. I mean, there's nothing else out there that wasn't moving. How do you know you're going 60 miles per hour? You just think you're just zero. You're not moving at all. I mean, everything else is moving until you start going 120 miles per hour. Then you're going, oh, it's 60 miles per hour. So a lot of that has to deal with the astronomical unit, the AU. The AU is basically the measurement between the sun and the Earth, and it's just kind of an approximation because we follow an elliptical orbit. So and all of that is based off of originally the parallax between a distant star and just kind of all the scientific jargon stuff. Yeah. But and then here's another thing: is when we go to Earth, from Earth to the moon, we're in a rocket. We get out there. If we're going, say, 166,000 miles per hour, whatever the speed that the Earth is moving, when we leave, it'll be 166,000 miles per hour plus the speed of the rocket, right? Because if you're in a moving vehicle going 55 miles per hour, if you jump out of that car, you're going 55 miles per hour too. So you're going to get killed because you're going that same speed. The friction is what slows you down once you hit the Earth and all this other stuff. So when we leave a moving body, you're going at least the speed of the same moving body. And so a lot of that just kind of, I'm wondering, because the rocket is going a certain speed, but they never say it's going faster than the speed of the Earth. And so the telemetry data that they should have had, and if we do the calculations of that, is it different than the speed of the rocket itself and not the speed of the rocket as it leaves the Earth? So did it slow down to make it to the moon in 8 days, or should it have been to the moon within like 1 day, right? Because of the speed of the Earth plus the speed of the rocket as it leaves Earth. So things like that I always question. But the biggest one about the whole space program, especially back in the 50s, is the space suit. if space is a vacuum, we've got you need air, whether it's oxygen or whatever, within the suit. It needs to have air conditioning or some type of heating system, because it gets really hot in space and it gets really cold in space. So it needs to regulate the temperatures. The battery capabilities, and what I hear from everybody that kind of tries to debunk the conspiracy theory of did we go onto the moon, et cetera, is they go, we gotta say that the military and all this other stuff, they're at least 50 years ahead of the current civilian. I mean, they have no basis for it. They have no real idea. That's just something they throw out there. But we can't just say, yeah, the military has 50 years advanced technology. We have no idea about. Well, then how do you know that their technology is 50 years ahead? So that's just a conspiracy theory. There's no real evidence. Not only that, so they need to have the batteries. Their computer chip doesn't know how to regulate that, so they'd have to regulate it manually. I mean, it's not like, look at your HVAC system. It's in your house. What year is this? 2018, and it doesn't know how to regulate the temperature of your house correctly in the summer and in the winter. Yet they are able to have it work perfectly within each suit. They don't show any videos of the spacesuits being tested within a vacuum and on Earth. There's plenty of areas that do that. I mean, they test a lot of the things underwater, but a vacuum is space. How would you test your suit? You want to do it in a vacuum.
Replicate that environment.
Yeah,
right?
Replicate the environment. So we don't see any of that, any videos of that. So the spacesuit is a big thing for me, and I would think that that there's just a lot of things that would be problematic in what they tell us. So I'm starting to think flat Earth, man. I'll go crazy. I'll go to the crazy. I'll be the crazy guy that talks about it. But yeah, it's just the thing is, if that's the case, the ancients knew a lot more than we thought, because the ancients, before all the religious texts about the firmament and all this and the earth, they never specify the earth being a globe. It's always usually been, you know, pretty flattish with a firmament over it. And what else out there? And a lot of the stuff that's in the ancient texts just kind of makes sense. And that a lot of the discoveries out there underwater that can't really easily be destroyed are being discovered. And the artifacts that are out there are always being destroyed. We're always going out there. Either the Taliban or some terrorist group is out there destroying all these relics, or we start invading all those areas that have those relics, and all of a sudden, you know, these certain buildings and monuments get destroyed. I just think it's just very conspiratorial, really. I mean, they're destroying a lot of evidence, and look, they're not supposed to. I mean, I would say, look at all the artwork that's out there from, I mean, just say even the early 1900s. Now, I'm not talking about 1700s, I mean, which are hundreds of $1 million. You got stuff that's even in the early 20th century that's hundreds of millions of dollars that are for auction. It's like,
that's true.
People don't realize. Look, how about we not destroy that stuff? We'll get all of it, because I'm pretty sure the artwork and all this other stuff, gold statues, whatever, they're probably worth a fortune. We could probably use that, you know. And they go, look, destroy the people. Try not to destroy the place, because we're gonna want to go in there and get all the stuff, and we'll make money off of it.
Right, to loot.
Yeah, to loot. I mean, every soldier out there doesn't get paid a lot, but you're out there on the ground. How are you gonna know? People are gonna want loot. I mean, that's what soldiers usually had. They got paid really well, or they were given land, you know, for their services and whatnot. But at least that's what they say in the history books. I mean,
right, in theory, right.
Yeah.
But I think that,
especially if you're higher up, you're right. You're gonna serve 20 years, and you're just gonna get a little bit of a pension for like a third of what you were getting paid, and you know, it's not that much of a security. But look, you procure just a piece of artwork or a statue, pretty easy to obtain. You're not going to want to blow it up. I mean, you can kill people anyways, you know. You don't have to destroy the buildings and whatnot.
Right, but I think part of it is it's applying logic to what many times is an illogical crusade of genocide. So I think, it doesn't make sense logically, but I think to illogical men, it would make sense as a way of like erasing the history of the infidel. You know, it's always been that way throughout history. Like, you know, you see artifacts and great monuments that represent the power of the current or prior establishment being destroyed or stolen, like you say, and then sold and whatnot. But they do it themselves as a power move and as a way as an attempt to erase their existence from this history off the face of the earth. Are they successful? I mean, who knows? I mean, look at Atlantis. Like, we have so many. I think Atlantis is. I heard somewhere that Atlantis is the subject that has the most books written about it. We hear so many stories about this place, but yet nobody can find it, and yet we're convinced that it's real. A lot of us are, that it existed, and all we have to go by is what is it from? Was it from Plato that's talked about Atlantis?
Plato didn't. I don't think he mentioned Atlantis itself as the name, but of a very advanced civilization that went under.
An advanced civilization, right?
And then,
but we have, you know, these stories from Greek philosophers that we to go by, and you know, all these books and whatnot. You know, we still can't find this place.
Maybe we have found it, but it's just been hidden. How would we know if the government found it?
That's true.
I mean, we can't even go to Antarctica. No one can. You have to get express permission from the government that you're in. and it's gonna be guarded heavily by military forces. And because there's been a treaty. I mean, the longest treaty that's actually held in place is that treaty, the Antarctic Treaty. I mean, no one's broken it. I mean, all the wars that happened, it's like, oh, you want to attack us? Well, we're gonna break that treaty and go to the Antarctic. It's like, nope, doesn't happen. You can invade us, you can bomb us, but you know we're gonna withhold that Antarctic Treaty because you know that's the one treaty we can't break. Just seems a little odd, isn't it?
It does. I mean, Antarctica is partitioned by 7 different countries, right? I mean, you have the U.S., you have UK, Australia, New Zealand.
I think it's a lot more than that. Let me see if I can bring it up. Let me look it up real quick.
Yeah.
And
I'm even going off of my my atlas, but my atlas is 15 years old. I need an update on my atlas.
All right, so let's just go here. So I'll show people the Antarctic Treaty. This is from at.aq. I don't know. Google has this as the first one that comes up.
Okay.
All right, Antarctic Treaty, U.S. Department of State. This is www.state.gov. People can be like, hey, if you want to show something, show it from a legitimate source. Okay, so if you don't think the U.S. Department of State is legitimate, then I'm sorry, I can't help you. So signed at Washington, December 1st, 1959, entered into force June 23rd, 1961. The Antarctic Treaty, the earliest of the post-World War II arms limitation agreements. Yeah, we're right. By 1950, 7 nations, Argentina, Australia, Chile, France, New Zealand, Norway, and the UK claimed territorial sovereignty over areas of Antarctic. 8 other nations, United States, Soviet Union, Belgium, Germany, Poland, Sweden, Japan, and South Africa, had engaged in exploration but had put forward no specific claims. U.S. didn't recognize the claims of other governments and reserved the right to assert claims. The Soviet Union took a similar position, and it just keeps going on. So 11, there's a participating in the IGY that a conference be held based on agreements that have been reached in informal discussions. 11 nations accepted the U.S. invitation, and it says, currently there are 50 parties to the treaty, of whom 28 are consultative parties that participate in decision-making at Antarctic Treaty consultation meetings. They now include 12 contracting parties as well as Brazil, Bulgaria, China, Ecuador, Finland, Germany, India, Italy, Republic of Korea, Netherlands, Peru, Poland, Spain, Sweden, Ukraine, and Uruguay. Anyways, so people who don't think that that's an oddity that treaties can be held over the Antarctic.
Yeah, man, it's very, very suspicious. And I think the U.S. after World War II, we went directly to Antarctica. We went to explore Antarctica, if I remember correctly.
Admiral Byrd. So if you read up on him, he says a lot of weird things.
Yeah, Hollow Earth. Yeah. I think I was the one to mention him to you. He went and flew over the North and South Pole. Apparently, he found holes in there, and he went to a new Earth.
I don't think he flew. He was a like admiral, 2-star admiral, rear admiral in the U.S. Navy. He's got Medal of Honor and all this other stuff. You got videos of him. You could listen to him, what he says about his explorations, and that there's a lot more to explore. Yeah. So.
Okay.
It's and people just either don't put any effort into what he says. I think a lot of that has to be because he was a Freemason. He was at least. Yep. We're on break because a lady walked into Christian's room, and this could take a while. I haven't been cutting my hair. It's got all puffy and stuff. I'm trying to clear it out.
What was that about Christian's room?
I said a lady walked into Christian's room. This could take a while.
Oh, no. That's okay.
So it just it's weird because I'm in this. I'm trying to present these conspiracy theories that they actually exist, because a lot of the times it's revealed. They tell us, and the ones that are telling us, they're the government or they're some high level institution, and people go, no, it's a conspiracy theory. It's like, well, if it's a conspiracy theory, then why is it on a .gov and why is it on a .edu? Why do they mention it? Are they conspiracy theorists, the government? And they go, no, they have no reason. They never look into it. And I go, do you research or look into it? They go, no. So how do you know? What's your stance on it? If you don't know anything about it, you refuse to research it. All I see whenever I visit or something, you're watching sports, and look, I don't even watch sports. I play games every now and then, but not as much as I used to. And I'm pretty sure some people play games all the time, and they haven't thought about it and saying it's not a conspiracy theory. You're just a nut job. It's like, well, prove it. Well, I mean, like, have a conversation with me. Tell me how much you know, and I'll tell you how much I know, and then we realize that there's a big difference.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing now, man. I mean,
yeah.
I don't believe like all the conspiracy theories, but I certainly entertain a lot of them, at the very least. Like, I think JFK was definitely killed by the CIA. I mean, had the CIA, H.W. Bush was there in Dallas that same day. I definitely think that I definitely believe, at least partially, in the ancient aliens theory, that we were visited by aliens in the past, and that it's partially been influenced by them throughout history.
Yeah, and people who argue against it is like, look, there's been a mathematical equation set up by Carl Sagan. People who are, Carl Sagan is probably one of the most notable scientists of the 20th century.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
But they'll regard it as bunk. It's like, look, he even wrote a paper on it in the university, and the equation, and he, people know about it, and it's been revealed in plenty of areas. But they'll refuse about that. They go, oh no, that was before he won the award, whatever that Nobel Prize or something. That was before. So all that stuff.
It's vilified, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, if they don't get angry. Sorry, I'm trying. My hair's all fuzzy. If they don't get angry at first.
Scientist hair.
Yeah. It just needs to be more fluffy. Hey, maybe I'll get that. And I'll start wearing a lab coat. Maybe people believe me more when I wear a lab coat. But
you're putting like this really Yiddish accent, like
German-ish accent or something. I don't know. It'd be weird. But it's just, I don't know. It's like yeah, I don't know. I mean, if we really are, if the Earth was formed, 2.3 billion years ago, and the universe was created, 4.5 billion? I don't know. That's a long time. And my thing is look, dinosaurs have been around for hundreds of million years before us, and they became either extinct, or, like, the latest theory now is that they became birds. Hundreds of millions of years of evolution, and where are humans going to become? Are we going to become like little flying gnats or something? Is that our evolutionary process? Out of hundreds of million years of evolution, we're just going to become something like birds? So the next,
maybe little gray men.
Yeah, little gray men. No, but we become a food source, or our brains get smaller, and the next intelligent species is going to be like, oh, look, humans have lived for 100 millions of years. Well, you know what they are now? They're I don't know. I'm just trying to think. They're flying fish. They became flying fish, mammalian flying fish. I don't know.
Well, there's cyborgs.
No, but I mean, look, if
Yeah, I know.
I'm just like, look, yeah, I would say that dinosaurs became smart. Maybe they became aliens. They flew out. They evolved to something else. But you know, our current theory is that they just became
Mhm.
birds out of hundreds of years of evolution. They survived all the harshities of things back then. You know,
Mhm.
earthquakes all over, asteroids hitting everything, ice ages, and they survived all that, and they just became birds. They never became intelligent, sentient, conscious, whatever.
Mhm.
And we've only been here for a couple hundred thousands of years, and we are just geniuses because we
So that
just
we're told,
yeah we're
at
told
least.
we climbed out of the water onto land. We stopped using our prehensile tails and you know had opposable thumbs, and suddenly
Gone to
we
2 feet, walked on 2 feet.
yeah walked on 2 feet, and now we're here. I have 100,000
Mhm.
years. The evolutionary process of man is just much better than that of dinosaur. I don't know. It's just a little absurd if you really think about it. Um,
I mean, we do have like living relics, like the tuatara, which was around, for hundreds of millions of years, still exists today. That small little lizard, and I
oh
think roaches have been around for a pretty long time,
yeah,
and they're pretty fucking durable.
but
I mean, they could survive a month without their brain,
but look
or their
at
head, rather, or their head.
here's my thoughts about the evolutionary process and natural selection is sharks
Mhm.
and crocodiles. They haven't changed out of all these millions of years. You would think that a lot more animal species would become more like the sharks and the crocodiles. If they haven't changed over these millions of years, there should be a lot more crocodiles and a lot more types of sharks that are evolved into the very similar traits, except that there aren't. So
I hear you. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm finished. I'm sorry.
sorry. No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say like they have gotten smaller. I mean, it's a general change, but
Yeah, it's
you should
general
be
change, but
gone.
if there's already a natural selection out there where adaptation is beneficial, you're gonna adapt to what thrives and what
Mhm.
hasn't undergone a lot of evolutionary processes. It's just the easiest way to go about it. It's like you got something that was before the crocodiles, and say the other part that became um, that changed off of the family of crocodiles. Say Komodo dragon. There's not many Komodo dragons. You know they're not very expansive. They only live in like one area. It's like why didn't they just become more like crocodiles? That just seems like
Mhm.
and have more similar traits of crocodiles. Have the same hunting
Mhm.
strategy, or even other animals that aren't reptilian should have similar traits to that of crocodiles and sharks or whatever, because it seems to be a trait that survives hundreds of millions of and catastrophes, right? All those millions of years of evolution, it's like all those
Mhm.
animals that get extinct. It's like, well, they should just become more like crocodiles and sharks, but
Or
or have the
cockroaches.
similar traits, yeah, or cockroaches. But no, they for some reason, you know, the it just keeps changing to a different, having different traits, and those traits end up dying off because those traits just didn't work. I don't think that's. I don't know. It's weird that I'm saying this because I would never thought this a couple years ago, or entertained the thought. Right? I think a
Mhm.
lot of people who are listening to us now who don't want to even entertain that thought are going, "Man, these guys are crazy." It's like, how could they even think this idea? But they won't listen to what we have to say. They're just listening to what we're saying. They're already making presumptions and not thinking about what we're actually talking about and what seems to not make so much sense. You know? Um, did you hear about like Seth Curry, where
I know. I know
uh,
Kyrie. Irving
Kyrie
is a
Irving.
big flat Earth believer.
Yeah,
I remember seeing like a Shaq the Fool episode where he missed this layup really badly. He threw it up right over the freaking backboard, landed like into like the 20th row, and Shaq was like, "Kyrie Irving with this layup that lands on the other side of the flat Earth."
yeah. So Seth Curry was in some type of talk show, radio show, and
Yeah.
it was just a small, like 5 seconds. It's like, do you believe in that we landed on, or the Earth is flat, or like a globe? You know, no.
Uh-huh.
Other people go no, and they just moved on. And then ESPN made it. Some guy on ESPN just made a big deal about it.
Big deal out of it.
Yeah.
Really, ESPN
Yeah.
of all places is gonna. Oh my god.
And so Steph Curry had to make eventually a public statement saying, you know, that I don't really believe that the Earth is probably isn't a globe, something like that. I mean, you can watch the videos. I don't want to get another strike or anything like that yet. At least not while we're on air. I mean, yeah. But
Well, if there's a lady watching, I don't think we're gonna get a strike, dude. If anything, we're gonna get we're gonna get promoted.
Yeah, every 5 minutes, every $100 donation, the Christian's camera will go 10 inches lower.
10 inches. It's progressively lower. What happens when it gets to my feet? Does it keep going lower?
Oh, then we get until we reach like a $2,000 donation. Then it keeps going.
It goes to the other side of the flat Earth. Just like Kyrie Irving's layup.
Oh man.
I love watching that. I don't really watch basketball too much, man, but I love watching those bloopers with Shaq.
The bloopers, yeah. They are entertainers.
Yeah, he had one where I forgot who the fuck was playing. I think it was Houston versus Seattle, and it was a black guy and a white guy. I'm sorry, I don't know their name. I'm sorry, guys. Black guy and a white guy, right? The white guy gets the ball, right? Rebound. He's going up for the layup, right? His own team. Going up for the layup, and the black guy just jumps super high. And he jumps so high that he freaking hits him in the face with his groin. And Shaq's like, Kenny, you gotta check this out. This play is nuts. It's a stupid shit like that, man. It's like, and also like the no look pass to no one for no reason. That's a staple. And JaVale McGee. Oh my god. But anyway, going back to what we were saying, that's a weird segue, man. Because from flat Earth to Shaq the Fool to JFK, so weird.
I mean, I think it's pretty simple to kind of prove flat Earth. If it's allowed, I mean, you just have to have flight trajectories, the software, because there's also autopilot, whatever it is, right? But the software will calculate the distance and the flight path. And if you look at the software, just look at the code, either it's direct path as it is without any algorithm calculations that modify it, or if there are modified algorithms for something that's as direct. Because look, point A within globe to point B, you're going to take the most direct route, and the calculations are going to be pretty simple because you got latitude, longitude, and you're just going to go point A to point B. You got the distance. But then if you go to point A to point B and it's a flat Earth, and the globe Earth, if the calculations were, if it was a globe, you would have the correct distance and the flight trajectory. But if it's a flat Earth, that trajectory, that equation, the algorithm that's going to be there is going to be modified. Yeah. So just have those flight paths, whatever software programs that are out there, make it available to the public to examine. That's easy. You just disproved or proved flat Earth. or globe Earth. I mean, because the ones who are in charge of making all of that, they've got to program it in, right? I mean, they're not going to not have a computerized program.
You hope, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Or I got something better, and it'd be a great business venture for all of you entrepreneurs out there. Sell us a trip around the globe, right? Just like around the world in, what is it, 80 days, something like that?
Mm-hmm.
Take us up, right, in a shuttle.
Oh, keep it live? Oh, yeah, you could live stream it.
Yeah. No, but like actually take people up, like random citizens. Like, hey, you want to go up around it? Just give us $100 or whatever amount it is, and we'll fly you all the way around the globe from whatever point, from point A all the way back. Boom. That's it. You get to see, go around the whole globe. Yeah. I think a lot of people would sign up for that, man. I don't know about you.
Yeah, and you've well, we should have people who like. What did they say? We're gonna have people going to Mars. You know, you get that one trip to Mars, and they're gonna have a contest. Well, we haven't really seen any of that happen yet. And of course, if you're gonna go to Mars, you're not gonna film it. And you're not gonna send it to Earth or whatever, where I have a live transmission. Yeah. So we'll see it. You know, I mean, there's gonna be a delay, and you know, as the travel distance happens. But like the frequencies, radio frequencies, they're not lost. When you, I mean, they're gonna come back. So as long as they transmit, we're gonna receive it, right? So all the video, all that stuff, that could just be done all the time, and they could just show us panoramas and, you know, all the cool stuff they see while they're in space, because they got nothing else better to do. We don't have hibernation chambers where people are gonna be sleeping in however many years it takes to get to Mars. And then when they get to Mars, they're gonna send us live videos and all this other stuff, and you know, to Earth. And
you think, yeah,
you would think.
I mean, you think,
but you know, I don't see that happening. We're not gonna see those hundreds of thousands of hours of different people. It's not gonna happen in our lifetime, even though they projected it to be in our lifetime.
Man, who the hell knows?
Well, people out there know. They just don't let the public know.
Right. Yeah, there are people in power that know, but don't want the public to know. I mean, I've heard stuff like we have a base on the moon. Like, you probably heard of that. Probably researched that, I imagine. Like when we.
Well, this.
Here's what I think would happen with the moon landing thing. I tend to believe that we did go to the moon, but as far as that missing footage goes, I think something happened on the moon. Now, what it is that happened on the moon that the powers that be don't want us to see, I'm not sure. What I can say, what I think could be a potential answer to that is that maybe we saw something there. Maybe, you know, Armstrong and Aldrin, when they got off, they maybe they weren't alone up there. This is my feeling.
So what did they tell them? Don't come back, because we went back a couple more times. We landed on the moon not just once, but 8 times. We're like 8 for 8 landing on the moon.
8 for 8. That's right. Yeah, that's true. But maybe it was just that one section. Maybe there was a base. Maybe it was a do not go zone. Who knows?
But if they tell us the first time not to come back, or go to this part, and we come back 7 more times, isn't that kind of pushing the envelope a bit?
Vaughn, we're talking about the United States of America. I mean, I think we pushed the envelope. I think that's our freaking motto, man. I mean, from like jumbo size sodas to, you know, invading these countries and say, oh, we're going to help you. Like, even though the countries say, no, you're not invited. I don't know, man. It's just, yeah, I think I tend to lean towards that, rather than just like faking of the, you know, moon landing. But I do believe it's possible. It's definitely possible. There's been plenty of, you know, arguments that are definitely plausible.
What are your thoughts about the moon rocks? that the moon, like you'll notice a lot of the moon rocks that are given up by the astronauts and NASA, they turn out to be petrified wood.
I haven't researched that. I haven't looked into that, so I don't.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
you could easily Google it, and there's news sources. If you want legitimate news sources, I'm sure even New York Times and Washington Post, they even say it. I mean, people disregard that.
Ebon, I am the #1 news source in the universe, and not just in this universe, but in DC and Marvel universe as well. When Batman and Spider-Man are in a quandary, they come to me.
Yeah. Oh, so what are your thoughts on the? I'm not sure if you saw the video with Chris Hedges. Isn't that weird that Chris Hedges would push a lot of mainstream narratives? I mean, and when you usually hear him speak, he's usually not reading from a paper. He's usually speaking from his own mind, I guess, unless all of that is just teleprompters. But I've even seen. I mean, if you look at Unity for J on his interviews, he speaks from the gut, right? He's not reading off a teleprompter in the interviews. And I never hear him say stuff similar to what he just said in that press conference, whatever it was that he had, a speech. It's just weird.
I mean, I've seen a lot of his speeches. When he goes to the colleges and stuff like that to do like a keynote speech or whatever, he does bring with him a lot of times paper. I've even seen him use it as at a bookstore. He bought like his written speech. I don't know if it's like every single word is written out or if he has like bullet points, but I've seen him use it, so that's not out of the ordinary. But yeah, I get what you're saying, that he's parroting a lot of mainstream talking points. And I think it could be a lapse in, I guess, in judgment. Maybe that's not the right term to use, but I think his dislike or even his hatred of Donald Trump is maybe clouding his his selection of an argument or his selection of points to make. Right? Yeah. I think that he might be a little bit too emotionally invested and not using too much emotions and less logic and facts. I think that might be the culprit, is the emotion part, the anger, the dislike, the hatred. And like as far as like the satanic stuff and whatnot and the cult, the equivalating this like a cult or whatever, Donald Trump supports the cult. It goes back to like his background as a minister, and that's what he knows. I mean, that's so he's gonna naturally kind of gravitate towards things that are similar to that in that realm.
Yeah, right there. You seeing ghosts?
Yeah, do you hear that? My neighbor's upstairs. Hold on. You guys hear that in the chat? It's like a humming noise, like a motor just started.
People think I'm the crazy one.
What was that?
Nothing. I go, and people think I'm the crazy one. You're hearing things.
No, I swear to God, I'm not, man. Pretty sure it was upstairs, but it sounded like a motor of some kind, maybe a humidifier. Maybe that's what I was hearing. There it is again. Oh, that might be outside. Hold on, let me look. All
right.
You guys will be on. Yeah, it's outside. Probably a motorcycle. I freaking almost 2 a.m. over here. Unbelievable. Let me see. Let me see if I can open this window here. Yeah, stop now. I hear some people outside. Let me see something.
Is it unusual for there to be people outside, or?
Not at this time.
Okay.
And it's raining over here. All this noise has stopped now. I don't see anybody. Huh. The Adventures of Christians, Oliver, and a Barn.
Other
this
things.
Episode, Christian hear things.
Other things. Other things I've been looking into are the predictions of adult cartoons, like Family Guy and Simpsons and other types of adult cartoons. I think it's pretty interesting. Simpsons knowing about Trump being elected, and then afterwards it's Lisa Simpson dressed as kind of very similar to Hillary Clinton, which is why Hillary Clinton's gonna become president in 2020. No one believes it. No one thinks it's gonna happen. And then what we see a lot with the system, or the ones in charge, is corrections. Just like we were talking about with all the protests in the Vietnam War era and all this other stuff, is they made sure that that's not going to happen again with the media. Media is going to control what's fed to the people. Otherwise, the people are going to protest and rise up against the government of what it's doing. And we've seen all the things that are occurring that's being fixed by the Democratic Party, by those in support of Hillary Clinton. I mean, look at the attack on Julian Assange, and all this drama that's occurring with Hillary Clinton's Clinton Foundation, etc. Nothing's gonna come of it. She's not gonna go to prison. So all this stuff that's gonna happen, if nothing happens from with it, if she doesn't go to prison, no one gets, or Bill Clinton doesn't go to prison, whatever, she's pretty much exonerated in the public eye. And like Trump, his little promise is, you'd be in jail. If I were president, you'd be in jail. It's not gonna happen. And what can he call her Crooked Hillary? Where he put all his effort into getting Hillary Clinton, Crooked Hillary, in jail, and she's not in jail by 2020. You can't call her Crooked Hillary. It's like all this power, all this leeway, and Hillary Clinton's not in jail. You can't call her Crooked Hillary anymore. Bernie Sanders, people are thinking, oh, Bernie Sanders, he'll run again in 2020. He can't run in 2020 because he's not a Democrat. Democratic Party only allows people who run in the primary, they have to be Democrat. He's an independent. Yep. No more leaks like Podesta emails and the emails, the DNC emails. That's not going to happen again because none of that can get leaked by WikiLeaks, or at least Julian Assange. Let's see. The emails, all the emails for Hillary Clinton, they're all gone. That's going to be another non-factor. What else is there? I listed it all before, but I mean, it's pretty much everything that was against Hillary Clinton in her run in 2016. They've slowly been shoring that up. She's actually even gone to states where she did horribly, where she didn't even go before in 2016. She's been there.
Yeah.
Her popularity is still low. That's no secret. But the thing is, they don't need popularity if they're just going to cheat. And all they need to do is make Trump. They're gonna. Same reason why she wanted Trump to run again. I mean, run in 2016. She's gonna want to run against him in 2020 because so much animosity towards Trump. And they're gonna do everything for Trump to look bad. I think. Before 2020, something's gonna happen. Something big. Another psyop. Another, planned attack on America, on American soil, and they're gonna blame Trump, and that's gonna get his popularity low. And I think a lot more people can go out to vote just to vote against Trump. And so that's. I'm sorry, folks. It's pretty much Hillary Clinton's time in 2020 if somehow she miraculously stays alive with all her health issues.
Hillary's green, the yellow green slime ball 2020.
Yeah.
That's a conspiracy thing to look into for sure. What the hell was that thing that came out of her mouth?
I don't want to know.
What the hell was that? That thing was yellow green. That wasn't. I don't know if phlegm is ever green, but holy shit.
Please don't remind me of that. I don't like that video. Ugh. I can't believe I watched that. Shouldn't have. You can't get that out of your head anymore.
It stuck with me for life, man.
Yeah. I mean, the Democrats aren't going to put anyone else in office, or there's no one that's powerful. No one's going to put their support. It's going to be a woman that's going to break the glass ceiling, and it's always going to be Hillary Clinton. I mean, they have plenty of women in the Democratic Party, but it's always Hillary Clinton. And they're not going to put Elizabeth Warren against Donald Trump. That's the whole 132nd church, whatever it is, Native American. That's not going to hold sway.
I think she could win, but I mean, I don't know.
I don't think so.
I sure.
Oh, go ahead.
All right, I sure H.A. Goodman's belief that they put Hillary in as Democratic nominee, Trump wins again. Because I mean, dude, you gotta realize what Trump is. She lost to a billionaire, orange, real estate, foul mouth, potty mouth. What you go on and on. Bitch lost to a orange billionaire, real estate tycoon, reality star. You couldn't beat that motherfucker. Like seriously, who had no experience in a political office, nor in the military, and who is on tape saying, "I just grabbed them by the pussy. I don't even wait." And you still lost, and you have the media on your side. And you outspent him 2-1. Get the fuck out of here. Go back to the woods.
The thing is, people weren't really afraid, and people who now see Trump in office. So far, it's not horrible, but his voting base are going to be there. I think the more libertarian base aren't going to support him, but they're definitely not going to support Hillary Clinton. They may not vote for Trump, but they're definitely not going to vote for Hillary. But then you got all the people who didn't vote for Trump, who may not have voted for Hillary. They might come out in droves to vote for anyone but Trump this time around in 2020, especially if something bad happens on his watch. I think it's either going to be an economic crash that happens on his watch, because that'll hamper his jobs, the economy being good,
Oh yeah.
Or it's going to be some type of violence that happens, a lot more violence, something big, where it's going to be another white person with guns and whatnot, and probably it's going to be some immigrant is the one who stops him, some illegal immigrant. I mean, if it's the narrative, and they stop it from being worse. And then you got Hillary Clinton coming in saying, we need more immigrants, more legal immigrants will come through. We're going to stop the borders. We're going to stop the deportations. And there's probably going to be deportations. Hillary's going to win. I'm sorry. I think...
I hope not. No, I don't think so. I mean, if she makes it to 2020...
It's easy to make Trump look bad because all you have to do is take away his strengths. His strength is the economy and jobs. You mess up the economy and jobs, no one's going to vote for Trump again.
Yeah, but when the Democrats don't have anything to offer...
They don't need anything to offer.
Jobs, I mean, it's hard. I mean, that's what they
Well, they just promised the same thing. There's like, Trump promised economy and jobs. Trump promised me being in jail. Trump is wrong on everything. And then their voting base are going to be like, okay, Trump was wrong on everything. We needed someone where we know things are good, and they're gonna pump up how jobs and economy and the deficit was so good under Bill Clinton. Of course, it wasn't. And then people are gonna be like, okay, we need the Clintons again. They're not gonna want the Bushes. There's not gonna be Michelle Obama yet. All they got is another Clinton. They go, okay, it was good under Clintons. Break the glass ceiling. It's not Trump. She had the majority of the vote in 2016, if not the electoral. And they're going to see that she should have been president in 2016. And in these 4 years of, or the last 2 years of economic turmoil, etc., you know, wouldn't have happened. And then, of course, things are going to get worse. And they're going to say, oh, it's because of Trump being in office. And then we got to correct it. And then she's going to be winning in 2024. I mean, it's just... pretty easy to predict, in my opinion. Just the logical course of how they plan. Just a narrative to push on the people to say, look, things are horrible because it's Trump in office. It doesn't matter that he said all these horrible things. We know he's going to say these horrible things. But him as a president, you know, what he was pushing for, you know, it's not going to, it hasn't happened. So why would you vote for him again? I mean, look at all his support is always demonized by the narrative. You got QAnon demonized, you got alt-right demonized, you got any support for Trump demonized by the narrative of the mainstream corporate media.
Right, man. Yeah. And you know, we know Trump supporters. I know Trump supporters personally. I mean, Trump supporters in my own family, man, and they're not Nazis, they're not racist, they're not alt-right.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't know, but I think it could be partially true what you're saying, but I don't think it's across the board. I don't think it's going to be a wipeout. I mean, you had people who voted for Obama twice, right? The very same Democratic base that you're talking about. People voted for Obama twice, went over and voted for Trump. I think people are sick of just the establishment, and that's the trajectory that's going. It's going to keep going.
Well, they were sick of the establishment, and now what the establishment is doing is making the non-establishment person in power, Trump, look worse. And then they go realize, hey, the establishment ain't bad at all. And they're going to be like, we want the establishment again. And that just makes things worse. Because the more you are for the establishment, the worse things get for people. Right. And Trump, don't get me wrong, Trump is part of the establishment, just a different faction.
Yeah. Yeah. It's same candy, but different wrapper.
Yeah.
Basically. But I don't think people are going to be, you know, ecstatic to run into the arms of another dynasty. Like you were saying, people are not going to vote for Bush or another Obama. I don't think they're going to vote for another Clinton. Because again, it's the same, you know.
Well, that's the thing, is they're not putting anyone else up there besides Clinton. I mean,
who knows?
There's no one out there that's popular. Clinton is still popular as far as just the brainwashed masses of the Democratic and the, I don't know, faux liberal base. I don't know, whatever you call it, neoliberals, neocons. I mean, they're all for her.
I don't know about you, Ebon, but I'm getting further and further away from like this sidism thing.
Yeah, I'm definitely against sidism, but the thing is, the sidism is what works to push narratives. Okay, like like the entire thing about Trump is he takes sidism to the next level, and pushing
absolutely.
back is the other side that pushes the sidism to the next level. So we've got a bigger diversity in ideologies that we've ever had before, and that's, I mean, who's really in charge, who's really in power, they can manipulate that the best, and the ones who seem to have it are the you got the mainstream corporate media. More of it is touting against Trump. You've got the Hollywood elites definitely pushing against Trump. You've got the comedians pushing against Trump. All the narratives are pushing against Trump. So all it takes is just a little bit more leverage, and I'm sorry, it's just gonna be people hearing it day in, day out, day in and day out. They're gonna, all they hear is just bad stuff about Trump. I mean, have you ever heard any good thing about Trump except for except for his support of Israel? That's probably the only thing that people talk about where they won't talk bad about Trump, because everyone in Congress supports Israel. Everybody. I mean, you don't hear anyone not supporting Israel. I mean, you're not going to get any support from any other politician out there if you're against Israel. I mean, name one person who's against Israel in Congress or the House of Representatives. Hardly anybody. No one. They're all for it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I really appreciate Jeremy Corbyn's stance on BDS.
Yeah.
George Galloway too. I mean, and they're British guys, but I mean,
yeah.
I wish we had that here. I wish we had politicians like that here that were in office.
Yeah, we don't. I mean,
we don't.
Trump appoints
not on the national level. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Trump's appointed a lot of Zionist people in support of Israel, billionaires, even multimillionaires, and no one really raises any questions about those people. But when it's some Christian conservative, and it's just a weird thing because Mike Pence, how are you a Protestant Catholic? It's an oxymoron. You can't be a Protestant Catholic. You're either a Protestant or you're a Catholic. Yet he's how he states that he is himself.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And a born again, Protestant Catholic. That's what he says. And so what's interesting is when you start researching,
like 2 Corinthians, right?
is listen to Walter Vieth. Walter in the Vieth. He's the Seventh-day Adventist guy. He was a Catholic, raised a Catholic, then he kind of decided not to be, then he became Catholic again, and he became atheist, and then he became Protestant. And his story is good, and he paints a picture very good. I mean, all the conspiracy theories, all the esoteric stuff, he talks about it, he discusses it, he understands it, and he studies scripture. And that's his main thing, studying scripture. And he tells people exactly what's in the scripture. And the thing is, he doesn't look past it, like the stuff that's in like the Epic of Gilgamesh and all the other texts that are out there that's very similar to the biblical scripture, but
the Book of Enoch and whatnot.
Yeah, but he paints the picture of how is Mike Pence, and same thing with Tim Kaine, Hillary Clinton's pick. They're pretty much the same thing. They're trying to unify the I don't know, Protestants with the Catholics, and there should be no way for that to happen, but that's what they're trying to aim for, is get that Protestant base, and all hail the Catholic Church, Protestants, yay. I don't see how that's gonna work, but that's the way that they're being manipulated, or they're trying to manipulate the people to get this entire he pushes an interesting dynamic where you're no longer like science can be proven wrong because it's just so many things. Because science right now is working on dogma. Scientists are being dogmatic, or they're refusing to speak out and be scientific and talking about and questioning everything. And so science will fail in many ways, and people who are religious are going to be like, see, science has failed. We were right all along. The Bible has been correct, especially if there's ever such a thing, you know, like the flat earth or whatever, just something big. And there's just going to be a huge fallout, and more people are going to be into the religious circles, and there's not going to be a separation of church and state. You're going to have the church and the state mingled into one. Protestants, Catholics are going to be united, and that there needs to be less secularism within the U.S. government and more religious types of power. And you know who's going to control it? The Vatican will have direct access because they're going to be like, look, the Bible was right all along. The scientists have been wrong time and time again, and so you know, look where we're at now. Look how bad things are. Look how immoral things are, especially within the United States. And so his idea is that there's going to be a push for non-separation of church and state within the United States government. It's pretty compelling.
Right. A theocracy.
Yeah, theocracy.
A totalitarian theocracy.
Yeah. And that's why they're starting to put a lot of emphasis on, you know, kind of a commingling of different types of Christianity beliefs.
Sects of Christianity, yeah.
There
different sects of Christianity, yeah.
I mean, what made them different before? They're just gonna say, you know, it's more about us and what God and Jesus and what the Bible teaches than it is about all these atheists and, you know, scientists and all this other stuff. So it's compelling. It's weird. I can see it happening, but I
mean,
I
we're
don't
kind of
know.
beat by like a lot of these billionaires and, you know, corporations, right? So in a way, we're kind of in a theocracy, at least in a very abstract way, with the deification of money, you know, all that. But I mean, it's interesting, human condition. It is how we keep falling into the same traps and errors of our predecessors over and over and over again. This tribalism, the sidism, just like with the, you know, the Israelis, right? The Zionists that have this goal of complete eradication of the Palestinians from that land. Okay, let's say that happens. All the Palestinians are gone. Do you think for one moment they're going to stop at that? No. And they're going to move on to the black Ethiopian Jews. Once they're gone, they're going to move on to the Arab Jews. And it's going to keep going and going and going and going. It's a cannibalistic nature.
Yeah.
Right? Just like the Nazis. Do you think that they didn't just target the Jews? They targeted Slavic people, targeted the Polish. And they would have kept going. Who the fuck knows how far they would have gone?
Yep.
Maybe until there were only Germanic people with blonde hair and blue eyes.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe it would have been fucking killed Hitler because he looked like me, brown hair, brown eyes, you know?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you can't get people to follow orders blindly unless there's an enemy to fight. I mean, if there's no enemies to fight, it's like, why is this important? Can I just, you know, raise my kids in a farm? There's no threat.
That's a great point. Yes. Very. Wow, man.
I don't know.
Man.
I mean, the U.S. has always had an enemy. That's why we're always in wars.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got to have an enemy, and you know, the troops will happily join this. You know, that's why we haven't had a look. The time we had a draft, we had, we had an enemy and we're losing. People didn't want to join; they were forced to join, but they're joining because you get all these benefits, GI Bill, all this other stuff, pension. But you also got, people who join. They feel like there's a real enemy to fight. They're fighting jihadists. They're fighting terrorists. They've got people who, bomb 9/11, etc. Osama bin Laden. They always had an enemy. So who's our current enemy now? I mean, how old is the enemy going to be? To fight out like ISIS and whatever. There's got to be a new enemy, and that new enemy seems to be next is Russia. How long can you fight one enemy for a long time before people who are militant lose their militancy? Like they really want to go and fight to protect their freedom. I mean, I see the only next step is, Russia and China. I feel like it has to be someone that we can be amped up against. At least the people who join the military. I mean, right now it's just too old to fight terrorism and always be losing. It's got to move on to something else, and that's why we always have new enemies. We always have new people to fight all the time, and
right.
It's not like we're ever in a war with some country or something for decades. It hardly ever happens. I mean, it was communism for a while, right? That was in the 19th century. Now it's the Middle East, the Arabs, jihadists, whatever. In the next century, it's got to be another. It's not. We're not gonna be able to go to the communism again. I don't think, because communism has won. It's existed for centuries, and we haven't been fighting them. We've been fighting these Arab nations instead. So it's got to be something new, and I don't know what it is exactly. Maybe it's. They need an enemy to fight, otherwise no one's gonna be patriotic enough to join and fight without question. So I don't know how they always manipulate things to go right all the time. Like, humans make mistakes. People make mistakes. It doesn't matter how smart you are, how much power you have, how much money you've got. People make mistakes, but it seems like every time it always goes the way they plan it to go. And the best excuse I could think of is there's something out there that's not quite human, I would say, that can manipulate things that we don't know about. Whether it's aliens, Anunnaki, I don't know. Who knows? But they're right now, for the last couple of centuries, they've been undefeated. And how is that? How are we always at war? How are we, not just the U.S., just everywhere in the world, always at war, always fighting? There's always poverty. There's always homelessness. There's always injustice. I mean, is this how it's going to be forever? We've always been doing the same thing, and we're always getting the same results. And every generation always fails at correcting it. How is it that we always fail? And it's either the human condition, we're just always going to end this way until we're all gone, or there's something that's beyond us that just keeps winning, and we that's why there's so many rabbit holes. They want us chasing all this other stuff, not really find the root cause. And if we say if it's aliens, say if it's some Anunnaki or some gods or some demons, I mean, everyone looks at you like you're crazy. But otherwise, right now we're living in craziness, and we've been living in craziness for centuries now. So what is it? Is it we're all crazy, or we're just being manipulated by something that we have no idea, because everything that gets to a certain level of power we know nothing about, because they use that power to become non-transparent. So
yeah, hide and shadow. Yeah, I get what you're saying, man. That's kind of what I was saying.
I mean, because someone who's in power that wants power is going to be too greedy and they're going to fail. But we always have that paradigm where, well, everything keeps going still. I mean, things get worse. You would think someone that takes over will right the things that are wrong, but instead they just keep repeating the same patterns.
I mean, I don't think it's all bad, man. I think part of the aim of the powers that be is to make us think that way, that they're unbeatable, that it always goes their way. They're gonna win no matter how hard we resist.
But they have been.
That is true, man. We have to resist. You know, even if the odds are insurmountable, it's.
I mean, I agree.
The limit of resistance is, you know.
I agree, but they have always won. I mean,
have they? I mean, I don't think the Bay of Pigs was a win. I mean, look how many times they tried to assassinate Castro. Was it like over hundreds of times? And he lived.
Yeah, but you know, with a lot of repercussions towards the people who live there, and
oh yeah, of course, man. I know. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, like
Chavez, another one. Hugo Chavez. They try to freaking kill him.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I mean, and eventually,
Vietnam. I mean, we probably would have stayed in Vietnam for another decade if it weren't for like My Lai and all the news reports.
What was I gonna say? Gosh, I lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry, Bob.
No, that's good. I like that. I mean, yeah, it's true. It's. I don't know. Yeah, and Ryan Bannock is. We haven't won a war since World War II. Well, the first Gulf War, you could technically call that a win, Ryan. But that was hardly a real war.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've always lost.
Or just didn't really win, or no, conclusive.
I mean,
victor.
Yeah. Look, the first George W. Bush, the war on drugs. Who won? Drugs. So why would we want? Okay, and then war on terror. Who won? Terror.
Dick Cheney won.
Yeah, Dick Cheney won. You know, every war of some ideological war of some non-entity. Hey, Ben.
Hello.
We've always lost. We gotta stop having these wars against these non-entities. Otherwise, we're gonna keep losing. If we had a war on coffee, coffee would win. Don't have any war on coffee because coffee's gonna. Actually, I like coffee, so yeah, let's have a war on coffee. It's like.
Well, I always like to go back to the George Orwell, man, when he says in 1984, the wars are meant to be won, they're meant to keep going.
Yeah.
And it really is that.
Ben, what's been on your thoughts? We haven't heard from you in a long while.
No, not too much, man. I just thought I'd participate.
Great.
Oh, good to have you here, man.
How are you guys doing?
I've been going over sickness, family sickness and stuff, but otherwise good, I guess.
Just colds and stuff?
It's not that cold. It's odd.
I mean, like, you guys had the flu or stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
My son will have it, then I'll have it, then he'll have it again, then I'll have it. It's horrible.
Yeah, we got these friends that have, like, that their kids go to daycare and they pick them all up and then we hang out with them and then we all kind of get it.
Yeah.
It's like this weird process. Like, they always get us sick, but then it's like, I don't know. It's just that's how it is with daycares and stuff.
Yeah. He gets, yeah. I mean, there's like a case of strep throat in our daycare where my son goes to, so that's not good. But my wife and my daughter don't get it. I mean, it just seems to be me and my son that get affected by it. Which is weird.
What are you trying to say, Bonnie? You think the flu is
conspiracy?
no.
I don't. No. But you know, I don't. I think conspiracy theory of the vaccinations is definitely there. I mean, there's
Oh
like
yeah,
7 weird things within vaccinations. One is the organic methyl, the mercury. They have
mercury.
aluminum,
Mhm.
which why would you? And this it's not harmful. They've got the what's that stuff where you preserve dead animals?
Formaldehyde.
Formaldehyde. It's like why would you put formaldehyde in all this stuff? There's like crazy nasty stuff. They have gelatin in these vaccinations. Certain vaccinations, not the flu shot, but other vaccinations have MSG, monosodium glutamate. That's another thing that people really don't need or want to ingest. No MSG, but they'll put it in the vaccinations.
Mm-hmm.
Weird stuff that gets in there.
Yep.
But they say it's good for you. It's okay. They don't really have. I mean, all these other independent tests of all the stuff that they have, you wouldn't want to drink it or ingest it, and there's just so much stuff that goes into it, and such a short. And the research that goes into it talks about the normal average weight of or mass of a adult. They don't really take into account the mass of an infant, babies, especially how much they get. I mean, especially the amount of vaccinations that you're supposed to get before they enter public school. It's like every time the public school is going, is vaccinations up to date? We need the vaccination records, etc. I always wonder what happens if we don't give them the vaccination records or up to date vaccinations. Do they kick you out of the public schools? I mean, why would they keep wanting it? It's just weird. And here's another thing. All the scares of people who don't get vaccinated, that there's going to be breakouts, and there's more vaccinations out there, or people who aren't getting vaccinated because of the vaxxers, and also the elite, super rich that don't vaccinate their children in California. There hasn't been a breakout of polio, measles, smallpox, like not smallpox.
What about like I think like a third of the world has tuberculosis, but like China's cut back on its tuberculosis by the tuberculosis vaccine.
You mean
like there's basically there's just like there are results behind it too.
Yeah.
In places.
and anyways, it's just you would think that there'd be a breakout, or at least they would mimic a breakout, at least the government, to get to the case in point is like, look, anti-vaxxers, there's been a breakout, hundreds, thousands, people died, get vaccinated. Vaccination is safe. None of that has happened yet. You would think that they would actually, something like that would happen, or they would actually fake it, but they don't. So what's the incentive to get vaccinated? There isn't any. There has been no threat of a breakout of anything. Instead, we have more worry about Ebola and the avian flu virus, etc.
Those the swine flu,
all this other stuff. But no real.
Will be the elephant flu.
Yeah.
And the zebra flu.
I mean, I think what telltale sign would happen is if you start having to have vaccinations against Ebola or avian flu virus, then I'll think things are starting to get a little bit weird. It's like there's no real breakout, because all the things about those breakouts, if it occurs, it's going to be horrible. And of course, the Ebola, the breakouts that did happen in those countries, it was bad. It was horrible. So they could easily push for those types of vaccinations, but they don't. So I don't know. It's just weird. I just don't like the ingredients within the vaccinations themselves. I don't think they need them.
Yeah, man. I think you share my belief in this, man. I'm very much natural guy. I mean, human beings are not synthetic creatures, so why treat us with synthetic objects? You know what I mean? Synthetic medicine. I think best medicine is found in nature. And so what we eat, what we put in our mouths, the way we live our life. I think a healthy lifestyle with a healthy diet is the best vaccine you can ever give yourself.
Yeah. And
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and we have a lot of preservatives in food, especially ones that don't go bad.
Yeah.
So why don't we put like acetic acid or lime juice, whatever, in these vaccinations rather than aluminum, formaldehyde, MSG, methyl, mercury? It's like,
Mercury.
yeah, why do we put these harmful preservatives in our vaccinations and not the good, non-harmful food, like food safe materials? It just,
I mean, we could go on and on. Why do you still use plastic when we can use hemp?
yeah.
Uh,
But it just seems like every corporate industry has their way every time.
It's because of money, Ebon. Cold, hard cash.
No, it's because of safety. People's health comes first. I mean, everything and like everything gets polluted, and I think that's a plan because if you're going to grow your own food, it's going to be, look, you're growing your food on soil that's heavy in aluminum, barium, strontium, whatever, from the geoengineering, or the Monsanto product, whatever. So you can't grow your own food. You're just going to poison your own kids. So you need to make sure you get the foods that we process for you, and those are food safe. And then the water is like, hey, you can't treat the water. It's not safe for you. You better, especially if you have your own well or whatever. It's like you're gonna need to make sure you drink from the city water because we make it safe, fluoride and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
And then, no matter what, the pollution always gets worse. And then they give us the alternative to ingest, which is harmful or more harmful. But they keep saying it's safe.
Yeah. It's kind of like a political system.
Yeah. So it's just it's like we can't believe anyone or anything, and people who do their own research are vilified for, hey, look, you're not legitimate. You're not a person who can legitimately do your own research and come up with the good results. You need to listen to one of us. We're million.
It doesn't even need research. You just got to realize, like, okay, why we had to get all of our water in plastic? That just doesn't feel natural. It just doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem like a good way forward in the future.
Yeah. And like the baby stuff, like I remember getting all the sippy cups and whatever from our kids, and a lot of it's with plastic, and then so one of the plastics that my wife ordered early on for our daughter, they had a leaching problem, right? That it would leach, and we're like, oh,
BPA.
great! How much of it has affected people? And so of course now we just went with like tempered glass that's hard to break, and even with our food storage containers, it's made out of glass. Even though the plastic was on the top, just try not to let it touch the plastic. And it's like, why did we even go there? It's just cheap. It's light. I mean, there are benefits to using plastics because of its lightness and how cheap it is, but how healthy it is, I don't think it's good.
I mean, like I've been getting a little paranoid recently, like looking at like my zucchini in the fridge and stuff. Like as I leave it in there for like a week or something, like the plastic, the moisture, it kind of like sticks to it, and I'm like, these plastic bags, like,
Yeah.
So I'm starting to like think about all those things.
I remember I used to take some sandwiches to work and put them in the sandwich bags. They taste plasticky after you take them out and you eat it. It's like,
that's true. Yeah.
I can't. It just doesn't taste good. I don't like that.
And added to the fact that plastic isn't biodegradable, it takes super long time for it to degrade.
Right.
Whereas if we use hemp, it would be recyclable. It would be biodegradable. We could,
Yeah, like the people act like there's not a big difference between 10 years and 20,000 or something, like, or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or whatever it is. But what what was I gonna say? Shit. I mean, the point about like just making a bunch of cheap bags, like who cares about that? They're already cheap enough. Like, why not make something that's healthy, it's safe, and like it's just we like want our clothes cheap. We want everything cheap, and and you know we ignore like how it's made, and you know, and we don't even have the right precautions and stuff to make sure it's safe for us for consumption, and then it just doesn't really make sense. It seems like the priorities are out of whack or something. Because I mean, if you don't have water, if you don't have food, they're saying organic food's 25% likely to give you cancer. Well, that just means the other stuff's 25% more likely to do that. Like, really, the information is right in front of you, and it's like, you know, so you know, if you don't have healthy food, you don't have healthy water, what do you got? How rich are you? What do you have? All these, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars, middle class homes, all this whatever trinkets that you can fill it up with, like on a South Park episode, but you know, for Amazon. But what do you have? What do you really have if you don't have your health?
And remember the say. Well, you guys are young, but there used to be a saying for a lot of people who were pretty poor. Like I would always say, you know, at least I've got my health. Right now, if you're poor, you're not gonna even have that anymore.
Yeah.
And I just find it funny.
Design.
What was that?
All by design.
Yeah. And so organic, locally grown, that's expensive, really expensive. And I like the cartons. The one that I saw in Boston, it's milk, and they put on the label grass-fed milk, milked cows. It's like, really? That's what cows are supposed to eat. Why do you need to tell people that's what they eat? Because cows are no longer eating grass. They're eating, you know, fortified cornmeal and all this other stuff for their milk.
Steroids, growth hormone,
etc. Yeah, all that other stuff. And so you just have to tell people, hey, cows eat grass, yes, but these cows, most cows' milk that you get aren't fed grass anymore. But they don't tell you that they don't tell you the milk cartons, you know, that don't say organic or grass fed. They don't tell you that it's made. They feed the cows the bad stuff.
Yeah, man, that's part of the reason why I went vegan. I was just like, oh my god, this fucking industry.
Yeah, the meat industry is pretty bad. It's pretty sad because here is just really big cornfields, soy fields, cow kill-lot. Is it kill-lots? You know, the lots, the feedlots. There you go.
Feedlots is what they're called?
Yeah. Where they just where all those cattle are going to come and they kill them off and
like a slaughterhouse, you mean?
Yeah. I think it is called feedlots. But I mean, there's a few organic, local, good stuff around here. Even in, but you would think it would just be a lot bigger. You know, you got all this land, all this good farm area in central Nebraska.
America's
you know,
land.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe if you could get like the right kind of grocery store, you know, and to buy your product, you know, and start organizing something like that, there might be a market for it, like in Omaha or whatever, or those two cities right there. Like,
yeah, I do
probably
like
the rural area is probably not a market for it, awareness for it.
Yeah, I do like Hy-Vee, the store here in Nebraska. It's employee owned, so I think that's kind of a good way to get going. You don't see a lot of that.
That's awesome.
And up in Seattle, kind of the higher echelon of society, you see a lot more farmers markets out there.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
But it's always the only people who afford it or go to them are the other people who are well off. There's no ultra cheap local farmers market for the poor. You know, everything's expensive when it's grown that way.
Yeah, man, it really should be Everything should be organic, man. Because again, we're not synthetic creatures, man.
Yeah.
There's a food giant in Cape Girardeau where I'm from, and they had a employee-owned model. That's cool.
Yeah. Co-ops are pretty good that way.
Mm.
I mean, basically, though, somebody was telling me recently that like Roosevelt did something, I think around the Green New Deal time or something, that like built a built like every 40 miles or every 48, no, I think it was every 40 miles they planted all these giant oak trees or whatever to act as natural wind breaks and wind barriers. But they recently, like the last ones were just bulldozed down, and I was like, well, why would they bulldoze them down if they weren't dead or something? Were they dead? And he was like, no, the farmers are just greedy. They want every bit of land they can use. So it's like, since we have this kind of mentality and with all the large scale stuff, what if there was like a way to have a metric for the sustainability? Like, you know, if you're treating your, like a bunch of people that could actually measure and say, you're treating your land, you're handling your land, you're doing this in such a way that it looks like you're projected to like keep your, you know, land like sustainable in this farm going for the next, you know, 25 to 50 years. So like, because of that, you know, you get like this way lower reduced you know, tax or something, and like you know, if you're hiring a bunch of more workers and you got like organic or natural farm or something, like get something for that. And like because I mean the way that you can actually use the land, like I think more mindfully and responsibly and respectfully would be to do it like in a small scale situation. It's the when you're controlling, you know, just millions of acres and stuff like that, that you just kind of bulldoze over things. But like a small scale more thing would be like utilizing everything, you know, finding ways to support themselves and be resourceful, you know, around a farm, rather than just, you know, importing everything, shipping everything super far.
Yeah. What I noticed that's really weird is it's Nebraska here too, near where I live, and also when I visited Seattle, Issaquah area, is they have public lands become like wildlife management areas, whatever. They're just kind of public. You can go hiking on it, whatever. They're ex farmland. You'll see acres of what used to be where they're growing something. You know, it's totally rectangular. You know, that size, and you know, you can see a couple of rows, a little bit, but it's no longer privately owned. I mean, somehow it became public land, probably because someone just couldn't afford to keep paying for that land amount, and so you've got perfectly good land to grow stuff on for the public, yet they don't ever grow anything anymore. People just go there for either hunting or just hiking. It's like, why don't we ever have these public lands that are now public? Obviously, either the city or the county or the state owns it, and have public jobs where they grow food to the public, and they also make money for the county or the city or the state or whatever. I mean, obviously you can profit from it, because if corporations profit from it, you can profit for it.
I mean, organic produce really does go for a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, there's always that niche, whatever you want to call it. That's why it's more expensive. It's not like the organic local stuff is the cheapest stuff. It's the most expensive stuff. But you've got the non-organic stuff that's shipped from South America or Florida or California that's cheaper. That's like a quarter cheaper than the stuff that's locally grown.
So like the locally grown stuff, I mean, it could potentially be done like all kind of in-house or more so like that, rather than like importing some feed from hundreds of miles away or thousands of miles away, and importing like, you know, all the equipment, maybe
Yeah,
some of the equipment for sure. But you know, if I don't know, I could just see the situations where it was more regional or more, you know, like why do you have to ship a plow? Like, why do you have to make a plow in China, or make a tractor part in China, or across the country even? Why can't each region make their own things? I don't know. I mean, I guess everyone doesn't have all the same resources, but
I mean, yeah, it just, I mean, something that's shipped from thousands of miles away is cheaper than something that's made locally. It's just weird.
Yeah, it's ironic, right?
Yeah.
It's all about that large scale mass production thing. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's just a lot of those countries, they don't have the labor laws that we have, the labor protections that we have over here.
Yeah. And water.
sure.
How come we're shipping so much water from one place to people everywhere for water? It's like water is the most abundant thing you can get. I mean, just streams, non-salt. I mean, it just all the local stuff is polluted in some form or another.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they're not trying to stop the ways that we're polluting the water and trying to really stop that, then what's the point of going somewhere else and getting that water? Because that water is just going to be polluted at some point. You're just going to pollute more water.
Yeah, and they're in plastic bottles. I mean, there's only one company that I know of, or maybe two water bottle company that ships in tempered glass, and that's expensive because the shipping weight is expensive for glass. So
What
that's
are
why
those two companies?
one is the Mountain Valley Spring Water, and there's another. I forgot what it is, but it's pretty fancy. But you'll see it in certain restaurants where it's in glass bottle. There might
Oh,
be.
there's a lot of them. There's quite a few. I mean, you have that. I tried it, man. I liked it. The Mountain Valley Spring Water. There's also San Pellegrino
San
sparkling
Pellegrino.
water.
There you go. Yep. But I don't like sparkling water.
And there's I like and there's another Italian one that's in glass as well. I forget the name of it.
Yeah, I think it's the Italian water.
What the hell is it? What is it? I mean,
Voss? No.
Voss is German, I think. That's not it. But yeah, they have glass. Doesn't Fiji have glass bottles as well?
No, it's plastic.
Plastic.
Creed Silver Mountain water. No.
Silver Mountain water.
I don't know. I'm looking through.
Oh, Aquapana. That's the one I was.
I think basically like what Trump's trying to do is set up this big trade thing with China and sell all of our natural gas to them, because basically a few years ago they announced they were going to shut down a bunch of factories around Beijing within like 50 miles or something like that. And recently I heard what they're doing is just like switching factories over, or they did shut down a lot of factories, but I guess, or power plants, but they're like they're switching things over to natural gas. I think that's messed up, man. Like, I hope he gets a freaking good rate, because you're compromising water supplies for this gas to just trade away.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much the only safe way is just reverse osmosis water. I'm glad I talked with Snork.
Yeah.
Where he got me towards.
I did that talk too.
Yeah.
I learned a lot from that talk.
Yeah. And that's just,
if we're going to be compromising our water for gas, like, why don't we use it ourselves and save it, stockpile it ourselves to use wisely?
Yeah.
Efficiently. Crazy.
I have my conspiracy theory is that there's free energy that we're capable of generating, but it's prevented from use.
Tesla.
Not, yeah, I mean, if you go listen to Michael Tellinger, like there are these materials. It's all about sound vibrations, whatever. But if you look at the Khan Academy, they have an interesting one, where basically you convert sound to energy, and you've got that sound that energy that can power an LED, and that LED is converted to energy to power sound. So you can have the cycle. Of course, it has to start with the battery. If you look it up, Khan Academy, you could see it. But if something that emits light, you convert it to sound, and that can charge battery. Or you have something that always has sound that can be converted to energy and stored to use light. And then if you can keep that cycle going, I mean, you've got perpetual energy, right? At least it's not like it's just kind of a conversion. It's not, it keeps going. It's not like you lose anything. I mean, energy is energy, whether it's emitting light or if it's emitting vibrations, noise. So I just think it's interesting if there is natural sound somehow coming from Earth, the Earth is just energy in itself. Right? We keep thinking of just solar energy or wind energy, but we never think of just ground Earth energy, which I would say that there's some sound that we can't hear that's emitted from the Earth, or at least in certain areas where we can harness that's just constant energy. Whether if there's like certain tectonic plate movements that are always occurring, that's always just going back and forth, not this big old always drifting apart in huge gaps, but just they're just always moving. Yeah, if you can harness that, I mean, that's just free energy right there.
I mean, it's like somehow coal and gas and all that and oil is all more profitable, but I mean, I feel like in another frame of another frame of looking at things and looking at it, it's clearly less profitable. It's clearly like wind and solar are clearly the superior kind of energy. Like anything, all of it. Like any solutions, all solutions. Looking at all of it, just proving, letting things stand up next to each other. Consider all things considered. Take the best route. Move away from the oil. It doesn't matter how. It's just so clear and obvious that it's like, and it's not. Obviously, we're gonna need a bunch of plastic or something. Like obviously, we're gonna need oil and stuff still, but it's just a matter of like unplugging, like 60% of this machinery, like whatever we can, from that, awful, dirty system.
Yeah. The thing is, I think big entities, it's going to be hard to do because government's so heavily involved in it. It has to be individually. Everyone ends up doing something. All right. So we're going to switch real quick to the browser. You won't be able to see it on Zoom, but you'll see it on YouTube. You don't need to listen to it. But here it is. This is what I was talking about, the Khan Academy. Very interesting.
We're going to turn sound into light, and then turn the light back into sound again.
I mean, you can watch more of that. I mean, it tells you how you can build it all and do it yourself. But isn't that pretty interesting?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, it is sound, but it's vibration, right?
Mm-hmm.
Generally. So.
I mean, but I think it's yeah. I mean, because he blocked it with his hand, the light source, and obviously the sound stopped. So there's a way to we know that's what's powering up the sound is powering up the light is powering up the sound, because he mutes it, or he puts his hand to block it. So I mean, it's just so simple there to set up. So I kind of wanted to spend time focusing on that and see if I could find a sound source that's just constant somehow, somewhere. And
they've been doing like water mills and windmills for a long time, really.
Oh, that's right, windmills, right? You get water to keep, because water falling is generates sound.
There's a
Yeah.
brick.
Rainfall.
There's a brick you can put like on this
Rainfall.
pulley, and it powers a light bulb for an hour or something.
Yeah, I went over that a lot, and that's they sent that to Africa and stuff like that, and it's pretty cool. It uses They're called gravity lights.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Wasn't
utilizing.
that Akon did that?
Huh?
Wasn't that Akon who did that? Akon?
Who's Akon?
Ben, are you hearing this right now?
Oh, I'm not sure. I think a couple of companies have that. I think
Akon.
I've seen a couple of versions. I don't know. I don't know what
Am I
Akon
missing
is.
something? Akon?
You know what Akon is? Oh, it's more my time.
My bad. My bad.
He's kind of like I don't even know what you call him. He's a singer, basically. He's African.
Oh, I don't know.
I think he did some of that stuff he was talking about those
Gravity light?
gravity lights. Yeah.
How do you spell his name?
A is in apple, K is in Kevin, O is in orange, N is in nephew.
Oh, I think I know who it is. Let me see. I don't. Oh yeah. Look at that. Rapper Akon lights up Africa with solar. Lighting up Africa with solar lighting and other product thanks to reported 1 billion in credit line with Chinese manufacturers and a skill for celebrity networking. I didn't know about that. That's cool. But I don't think I don't think it's the gravity lights.
Oh, close enough. Solar energy.
Yeah.
So good. I mean, hey, that's one guy doing what? All these charities, you never hear anything about them helping Africa. Or,
yeah.
No.
It's better than
all the
nothing.
shit going down in the Sudan and Senegal.
It's better than giving money to the Clinton Foundation, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
Back on like the vaccine thing, I forgot to mention I was gonna look up his exact name, but it's like Lou Ferrigno. He just got like hospitalized or something for a vaccine, cold vaccine, some weird situation.
Oh,
I mean, he is a green giant, so he's the old, people who don't know, Lou Ferrigno is the old Hulk from the 80s.
Yes.
He was good. I liked him as the Hulk. He was a good Hulk.
Yeah, it was an interesting show, man.
Yeah.
That the music was very depressing, man. It was very sad.
Yeah.
And you see like Bill Bixby as Bruce Banner, or David Banner as he was sitting on the show, like holding his thumb up, like trying to hitch a ride. And
yeah. I liked it. I grew up on that Hulk. And then the two Hulk movies weren't that good, but I don't mind the Hulk in the Avengers. I really wish they did Planet Hulk, which goes to World Breaker Hulk, because World War Hulk. World War Hulk. I thought it was World Breaker Hulk.
No, World Breaker Hulk is what Hulk is known as. That's the form of Hulk that's in World War Hulk.
World War Hulk. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. World Breaker Hulk. Because if people who never read the World War Hulk, that thing it's awesome because he could pretty much beat anybody. It's incredible how crazy powerful Hulk becomes. But it's all but it's all because it's all because his wife from Planet Hulk. I won't say anything. Read the comic. I just wish they made the movie because that would be the best Hulk movie ever, right? And they kind of have parts of it with Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah,
I wish
CGI guys are lazy. They're used to just having like 5 minutes of work per movie.
Yeah, but if they would have just did Planet Hulk with Thor Ragnarok and then go into just a side, like don't even go with the Avengers series, but have your own Hulk story with the World War Hulk. That would just be incredible. That's one of my favorite Hulk stories.
Yeah, a lot of people. Yeah, I've read it. All right, here's the issue now. It all comes down to rights again, the movie studios, the greed and whatnot.
Oh yeah.
So technically, Universal Studios own the movie rights to Hulk. Now what they do is they were kind of like the Sony agreement before the Sony agreement happened with Disney/Marvel. They agreed back, during the Avengers to lend the Hulk out to Marvel Disney so they could use the Hulk in their movies, right? Only thing is that they can't do a Hulk solo film.
Yeah.
Universal wants that exclusively to themselves.
It's kind of like how Spider-Man was with
kind of, yeah, in a way, yes, kind of. But with the Spider-Man agreement now, the Sony agreement, they could use Spider-Man in, Disney films, and the Spider-Man films can use characters from, Disney films and the Sony films, right?
Mm.
It's it goes back and forth. It's a mutually benefiting agreement. Whereas with the agreement with the Universal Studios in terms of usage of the Hulk and his characters, they really can only use Hulk in team-up movies and whatnot, but to do proper Hulk standalone film, you have to be Universal, and they've been trying to get that rolling, but Universal is like, eh.
Yeah, I mean, I wish those executives were smart enough to know just how popular Hulk can be in the newer storylines. Cause
yeah, man, I know, me too.
Yeah, but yeah, it might.
I want to see more Hulk. I really want to see that on the big screen.
Yeah, I mean, because it's just total rampage. I mean, it's just like everyone goes in there and tries to stop him. There's only one person who can, but if that one person who successfully and who's like a great friend of Hulk, but if he goes in and he overpowers himself, he ends up becoming something worse that can destroy. He has no control over what he becomes and can destroy.
Yeah, that's a great character too. I want to see that guy, even though he's like.
So, but wasn't there actually a whole movie about him being weak and not having his strength? Then I mean, I guess it's like a fact that when he gets it at the end or whatever.
Well, the Infinity War, the latest Avengers movie, yeah, he kind of can't turn into a Hulk because he got beat up by Thanos so bad. Of course, that fight didn't happen.
Like the opposite of what you're talking about.
Oh,
like of the war or like World War Hulk or whatever.
There's it's like the Old Man Logan, that story arc, where the Hulk did kill a lot of people, but Wolverine ends up killing the Hulk. Is that right? I think that's right.
Spoilers.
Sorry. I am assuming you guys are a little bit in the know.
No, I know, but for people who don't know,
most people here don't even know we're talking about comic books, or they don't care.
To like to what I saw like the other day, like the shirtless pundit Zach Howler. Move over, Zach Howler. We got Christopher here. No, but basically he's posted something from Judicial Watch where they were having that hearing to investigate Hillary Clinton. I just was so upset watching the Democrats just try to turn it into something where they went after Trump, and it's just like, for me, that sealed the deal. Like, that's just, I mean, they already sealed the deal like a long time ago and just showing how corrupt they were, but just to do that then is like just showing that they're absolutely not turning around. It's very defining, I think, still.
Well, we knew they weren't going to turn around because of the new DNC chair that they voted for. That was a big sham. Remember
I mean, it's just shameless. It's just completely completely that no, they're not turning around. No going back. Point of no return. Crossed. Like,
sorry, chocolate.
This sham, like sham cedar.
I just can't believe like that this like actually happened. Like I never thought that would happen in my life, where like most of the population be convinced of some giant lie, some giant facade, or just some giant like whatever charade. Just get caught up in this giant charade and bullshit. Like just to like
Sorry to
be
break it
taken.
to you, Ben, but bigger lies have happened. Bigger charades have happened throughout history.
Really.
It's still occurring.
I guess I don't. I feel like this is a huge one. I feel like this is a massive one. Like to basically steal away a legit or somewhat legitimate Democratic Party from people. Like in the United States of America, we no longer have like an actual liberal party, like an actual solid. How do you say that? What's a good word adjective for that? Like just reliable. I guess sort of.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Like there's nothing to look to there. Nothing to turn to there. No option there. Like we just don't have a viable. I don't like the word viable, but just don't have really a liberal party. There's no liberal party in my book. I know for a lot of people it's still the same old thing, but for me it's like we are completely lacking and devoid of a liberal or whatever party in the country, and that's a huge charade. That's a huge sham, and everybody's going along with it. That's the only reason it could work. If everybody was like, nah, screw this noise, like we're done, nah, we get it, you know, enough of you, because they really are just, they lost their minds there in Congress the other day when I was watching. Just lost their minds. Because I mean, how can you be so partisan, like that partisan, that blind, that ignorant, that like scrupulous, and like just throwing principles and throwing, you know, any sense of fairness and just like okay, I've been saying this, like if you take away free speech, take away free press, take away a free internet, free of political censorship, take away all these things and say, oh, what could possibly go wrong? What could possibly go wrong in the future? You know, banning people and taking people out and doing all these different things. Like, what could happen? What's the, like they know what they have to know what could happen, because right now the Democrats control this, but like it could be 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road. This all has been established. It's already been, you know, well in like just the way the operating norm, basically within politics and within our journalism and within our internet. And we're just stuck in a situation where some Republicans are doing this to everybody, like shoving fake media and propaganda, like, and they can just do it because what are the Democrats going to say? They didn't do it. They did it. It's completely either naive and short-sighted, but I don't think so. I just think it's selfish, and you know, I don't think they give a shit. Really, I just think they're out of touch. They don't give a shit. They're too wealthy. They don't think it'll ever affect them, and they'll always be able to just buy their way into safety and fresh, you know, food and water and whatever. If they even think that they would even have to care about that, I don't think they even consider having to ever care about that.
Yeah, I think we need to call on the Hulk, man. More Hulk on Congress. No, but it's a Crips and Republicans. It's really is just two gangs we have in Congress in this country. Two big mouths.
You know, some people think that we shouldn't have parties anymore. Just abolish parties. We can't abolish parties until it's already agreed on that we abolish parties, because as long as there are parties, the people who are partyless going against the people who are parties, that's impossible. You have to operate on a party. You have to have a party to go against the other guys. It's the only way. So you can't just be like, oh, I'm just going to have my own, I'm just going to take my own way here. It's got to be sort of a coming together and some kind of consensus somewhere. But the whole thing that we're all supposed to, you know, what is it called? Our revolution. If the whole thing we're supposed to, you know, gravitate around is all just complete farce. So no thanks. And and there's nothing there. Even the Green Party for me is just going to be a blip on the radar. 2020, 2024, 2028, 2032, 2000 until like 2000 whatever, 40 something, whenever the Earth's fucked. And the Green Party, like, what are they gonna do? Nothing in time. I don't feel like they're gonna do anything in time. Like they're not gonna grow. I think we need something new.
I mean, if we can't even get a Green Party candidate into a House of Representatives, how are we got a shot at the presidency?
That's not even a blip.
Yeah,
not even a blip.
I mean, it's not impossible. I mean, because look at the Republicans. I mean, they formed. They were a third party, and
No,
then
they're
within
the
10
first two
years they
parties were
had
Republicans and Democrats. The first third
what happened?
party, Republicans and
Yeah,
Democrats have been the first two parties in the United States. The first third party was the anti-Masonic Party, in which eventually formed the Whig Party.
the Whig
So,
Party, huh?
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it started. The first third party was the anti-Masonic Party. Not many people know that.
That's weird. Yeah.
I saw a statistic that anti-Masonic party was like got like 25% of the vote in New York at some point. That's all I remember about it.
Yeah,
When I saw that.
it wasn't that bad. It kind of fluttered out, but who knows what happened. But yeah, John Quincy Adams, the 5th president.
That's right.
Yeah, was a big proponent to support the anti-Masonic Party. Interesting history that people don't realize. But yeah, people will go Illuminati, like Freemasons. You must be crazy. It's like, hey, it's there. Just read the history. Anti-Masonic Party is the first third party, political party. All that they don't really go into much detail on that.
Mm.
And then the person who was supposedly lynched for revealing the practices of the Freemasons, his wife eventually ended up marrying Joseph Smith, who formed the Mormon religion.
Uh-huh.
She was one of the
Yeah.
wives. Really interesting stuff.
Did they venture off to Planet Kolob afterwards?
I don't know about that. Like they don't really. I think I did talk with one of my Mormon friends. He's ex-Mormon. But he did talk about how certain Mormons, or at least Mormon. I guess there's kind of split levels of Mormonism, and some don't really state that she was really a part of the legitimate wife of Joseph Smith, or she was just interesting stuff. But anyways, it's funny how everything just kind of ties in together when you kind of really look into things. And like, I don't know where to go. Like, if current events are a lie and history is a lie, how much of it is really real? But it's out there on the .gov site, right? If you really want to look into all these things, they tell you exactly what's there in a .gov, the state government or whatever, right? It's there. It's official in the government historical sense. But people won't believe it. They'll say it's just a conspiracy theory. And it's like, well, government's a conspiracy theorists then. So it's like, I don't know where to go. Like, if I can help prove this, a lot of things that I'm saying by pointing out to like a .gov site, and people will still call it a conspiracy theory. And I go, well, all right, if you don't think it's a conspiracy theory, then I'll go with a site that's not .gov, and they'll be like, oh, that's just some guy trying to make money, causing all this other stuff. It's crazy conspiracy theories. Like, well, what are you gonna believe? You're not gonna believe anything. You have your own. You're already made up your mind to think a certain way, or else. So it's almost no point to kind of convince anyone unless they just want to listen. And then if you want to like call me crazy, it's like, look, I could talk about it anytime. I'll send you links. I'll send you whatever links that you want to believe in, whether it's government or non-government or scripture or historical ancient text or some other historian or some maybe scientific guru or some well-known historian, etc. It's like, which version do you want where I can point you to that, hey, there's validity in this.
Have you guys been watching Jimmy Dore recently?
I haven't.
Not really.
He's been pretty spot on, man. I appreciate that shit. But he just said on there, he was like, oh, just because I forgot the celebrity's name is Tom Hanks or something, but he's like, yeah, he said Tom Hanks is like, says that, what Assange leaked is different than what was leaked back then or whatever, completely different. He's like, fuck you, Tom Hanks. No, that was
Wait,
really
Tom Hanks did the that movie with Meryl Streep called the
right.
Post.
The Post.
Pentagon
But
Papers.
yeah, but like yeah, dude, Jimmy Dore is awesome, man. He's been doing great recently.
Jimmy Dore is the man. He's the man.
He's like the closest thing to Jon Stewart we got, I guess. So I mean, Lee Camp as well. I appreciate Lee Camp. Appreciate the heck out of both of those guys, man. I mean, that's really just we need to just like get them. They seem like they're big. I think that's why I don't like want to share them or can give to them or something. But I don't know, man. I think I want to start like supporting him more. But like because like you know we need to just maybe get that out there more. They're already a good vehicle for a lot of these views and realities and things. I wish Kyle Kalinske and Mike Figueredo were as good as they used to be. I don't really think they are.
Well,
It's all TYT, man. It's just I feel so much ambiguity about TYT.
I mean, Kyle.
I know for sure. I know Sank's true colors, but I know for sure that like those guys can be amazing.
Kyle hasn't really deviated from his platform. It's pretty much always the same thing, and he's consistent in that regard.
Yeah, he's been consistently like butt kissing Sank Huger for like 3 years.
Well, that too. That's the thing. I mean, he's got a lot of stuff where his viewpoints I kind of I support, and then it goes back to Cenk Uygur and TYT, and it's like, what? How does he not see past that? And then there's so Mike Figueredo, same thing, but also kind of really pushes the progressive democratic, you know, Ocasio-Cortez and stuff like that. He doesn't see past that. He just sees what she's
Justice
saying.
Democrats.
Yeah.
Like you'd think that he wouldn't be so naive, right?
Yeah, because I mean, when you talk to him,
as soon as the election was over, or as soon as he went to TLT, he just started attacking Trump and he stopped attacking the Democrats. And he was cool with that, and I understand why you're cool with that. Like I'm not cool with Trump's natural gas things and education policy and so all kinds of different things. But yeah, I'm not gonna make a monster out of him. I'm not gonna like. Because the real monster is the Democrats and what they're doing. So, I mean, I'm not going to make a monster over here.
More than the Democrats. The real monster is the one that we don't really get to see. Because they control a little bit of both of each.
Yeah, I feel like the parties in some way like set each other. You know how like in volleyball, somebody sets it up for a spike?
Actually,
like they're actually on the same team, like setting up the other, like it looks like the other, but it's like you know, like alley-oop, you know?
Yeah,
it's like but basically, like what was a good example? Like in Wisconsin, the guy's the Republican governor there has signed this legislation to like thwart the Democrats' ability to do stuff in the future. But I just say like that's the Democrats don't want to actually do something; they want to beat their chest, act like they're going to do something, and not do it. And so they need the Republicans to put actual legal measures so that they don't have to do the things they promised.
I think the real monster is just the whole system in general. Two parties in it, people that pay them off, that bribe them, corporations.
So
the families of the Koch brothers, the Rothschilds, all that.
Here's one thing that I said earlier before. It's like I'm no longer an activist. I'm more of a de-activist, and like activism is to support the current system. Like look, there's something wrong with the system. You're an activist. You're trying to point it out that the part of the system has gone corrupt, that it's no longer working correctly. Except people won't listen. The people who are in charge of the system going, it's actually bad for the system. It's okay that it exists. And the activists are like, no, this is obviously a big problem. But the activists are there to support the system. But de-activist is to not support the system in any way. Because it doesn't matter whoever's in control of the system, they don't care about what's wrong with the system. They only care about what the system exists to serve them and their interests. Not really that it's not serving anyone else's interests, even those who support the system. So that's kind of where my mentality is now. The system it has its problems, and no one's gonna really listen to the people who state out the problems. And if that's the point, if that's the case, this system should no longer exist. The system should be deactivated. It should be gone downhill.
But we were just talking about the parties, and the parties are kind of the way that works, or how behind how that, like, you know,
it's more than just the politics. It's a lot of everything.
Like the two parties, you know, they each have their like emotional, passionate, like couple points that they can't see their own parties like fault or like whatever it is, logical or like incongruencies or whatever, like, because there's so much, you know, emotion there, and so it's like no matter what, you got a partisan person debating something, so you always got like it's just never going to get past that. Like, you need people that are nonpartisans looking at these things, and
even
if you just program somebody with some new emotion, like that's just another version of that. Like it needs to be just like give them something that's okay, you did this right. Okay, you're right about this, and so far, like, you got a point here. I understand why. Like, if you do that, then it's like, I think it's better to like, it's better. You're more able to see things clearly that way.
Even if a nonpartisan gets in there independent, like how Bernie Sanders, how he acted, he had the closest thing to what you're talking about, and like look where that went.
But I mean, he got into the system a long time ago.
But as an independent, non-affiliated with Democrats or Republicans.
But they let him in.
They let him in, and he ended up becoming one of them, at least a big proponent of the Democrats. So at every turn, it doesn't matter when you're within the system, you can't change anything within the system as part of the system. I mean, it doesn't matter what you go into some big corporation, you go into military, you go into government. It doesn't matter what you decide. If you're gonna want to change it from the inside, you're never gonna get to that point where you're gonna change it from the inside. It always changes from the outside. And so if you want to change the system, you have to do it from the outside. And so how are you going to form a system that's outside the system to change the system? If you're going to work that hard to work outside the system to change the system or things within the system, just take the system down. It's like just, I mean, computer analogy, really. If you're going to, you got a corrupted Windows operating system, you're not going to be able to fix it within the corruption within the operating system. You're going to have to go outside of it. You're going to have to load up a different, a non-corrupt operating system or a different operating system, fix the corruption from there. Or at that point, if you've gone to all that trouble of getting a system that's not corrupt, just use that system. Why spend all that time and energy fixing a corrupted system? Just use the new system you just set up.
Brand new one.
Yeah. So we're spending all this time trying to fix a leaky boat when we could just build a new boat that doesn't have any cracks or problems with it.
Isn't that just gonna be another system?
Yeah, but at least it'll be new and before it gets corrupted. You know, that's why. I mean, at least the American the founding fathers kind of knew that one system, one government, one whatever it is that they set forth isn't gonna last indefinitely without problems. That's why that there needs to be some revolution, some a new government kind of being set up to start anew. That way, all the congestion, all the problems that existed in the previous ones can be dealt with in the new one. I mean, that's why if you think about it, even as a corporation, as a company that builds a product, you build multiple iterations of that product. You got product 1, product 1A, product 1B. You got new product 2.0, which makes better the previous versions, right? So rather than having a new product that's better than the previous version, we're just making minor updates to the ones that has problems, that keeps having problems, that has vulnerabilities, etc.
Upgrades.
Yeah, upgrades. So why do we keep having these little minor revisions and not having a new product that understands all the flaws of the previous one and just starts anew? I mean, we already know that there's corruption out there within people in power, within politics, and that the representative republic isn't gonna work when you've got 300 or not even that, a couple hundred people representing 300 million people. how is that representative? You can't have like 400 and something people representing 300 million, and people are gonna be okay with it. It doesn't work. And the entire premise for the federal government is to limit federal government so that the freedoms of the individual and the public can never be superseded. And that was the whole system, is to form a government that doesn't limit the freedoms of the individual. But now you've got to the point where it's limiting the freedoms of the individual for a government to exist within itself that has power that can't be superseded by the public. No one can do anything about it if the government wants to take you down financially or politically or for whatever reason. It can tax you for whatever it wants without representation. That's what we fought against with the British. So we become British, and everyone in America is like, oh, hey, look, we're British. We like the accent. We love the Queen. We love the whatever. We love Catholicism. We love the Pope. It's like we became the British. It's like, what happened? It's just very ironic. And like if the founding fathers were alive today, they'd be like, what the hell? We had all these people die for this? It's like, this is what we fought against. It's like, I don't know. It's preaching. It's 3 hours and 26 minutes in, and you look tired, Christian. I know you're like tireless, Ben, but I think it's a long stream. I haven't streamed in a while, so sorry about that, but
it's okay. Yeah, I've been ready to go to sleep since about an hour ago.
Oh, sorry about that. I probably brought up World War Hulk, and then that kind of got you going. You're like, no spoilers.
no spoilers, please. Yeah.
Oh man, but that is such a good story. I mean, we could dedicate a whole night just talking about that with spoilers.
I guess we could, man. I mean, because I don't see anybody in the chat. Like,
yeah,
it says there's 6 people watching, but I don't see anybody in the chat.
Yeah, that's. I mean, 3.5 hours. And we kind of flip flop a lot to different topics, but that's what Open Topic does. But it's late. Yeah, thanks for coming on, Christian. It's nice seeing you and talking with you. Same with you, Ben. Well, of course, I didn't see you, but listening to you. We just got to hang in there and figure things out as they come about. And it's nice talking to people who we kind of agree on something, but maybe eventually we can start talking to people who disagree on stuff and try to find common ground. It doesn't seem to be. It seems to be.
We can all agree that coffee needs to be victorious in this upcoming war.
War on coffee. I like it because coffee will win. Hopefully, it's not Folgers that we're at war with.
We'll put up a hell of a fight.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. I'll see you guys later.
All right.
Good night, guys.
Good night.